look clean back there, dude. That shit look clean. That big ass mixing board.
You know what I'm saying? Let me just. Okay.
I like that part. All right, for sure. Yo, welcome to the motherfucking Producer Thoughts podcast. Man,
What's
we out
up?
here. We out here. We out here through trial and error. Motherfucking dope ass homie, motherfucking Nappoo. Shh.
What's up? Oh, look at you, man. What's up, Ben? What's up, Ben?
Man, we out here, dude.
I know, after like an hour of like trial and error. Trial and error, man.
Hey, man. But see, on everybody's journey, man, that's what it takes. Because it's like, who was I watching? I was watching somebody the other day, and it was like, man, at the end of the day, it's like, it's always just the motherfuckers that just don't quit because you just keep doing the shit. And like, you look up, that's how it is in the, at least in the acting world, where it's like, you got people that were production assistants, just regular PAs, and then they fucking ADs, second ADs, and all that. So it's like as long as you don't stop, then you get where you need to be. You know what I mean? So it's fucking cool that when I remember you doing, I remember like you started making at least back at Best Buy.
Yeah,
Matter of fact,
2006, 2007,
all right,
2006. No, 2007. I was there in 2007 because
okay,
right out of high school for me, it was like my second job right out of high school.
crazy.
But I've been making beats since like a year before, 2 years before that.
Okay,
I started
all
making
right,
beats.
run that down,
Yeah.
run that down. Let's hear the history. Shit.
All right, so the homie Louis Machete Sound, he we were talking about music every once in a while, but it was like I think it was like our junior year in high school or sophomore, not sophomore, yeah, sophomore year. He has me like this CD, like you know those we used to burn CDs and stuff. So he had me those little colored plastic cases, and it was
Yeah.
marked on there. He was like, yo, he's like, check this out. It was a FL Studios. It was those cracked versions. You know what I mean? It's like XL5 cracked version. I didn't know what. I was like, what is this? So he's telling me, he's like, oh, you can make beats on here. It's like, all right, cool. So I put it to my. I went and put it on my old Dell desktop. I don't know what it was, like a 90 something. We had an old one. But I remember making beats on there, just trying to figure it out. I'm like, I was excited. I made my first beat. I showed my brother. I was like, yo, look at this, look at this. And this fool like freaking laughed at me. He was like, "What the?" Because it was mad basic. I'm a drum. I like drums, but like when I was trying to do like the keys, it was just like tick 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 tick. Like it was like little cheap sounds. Like,
That's the
and he was yeah, it was cool. But then then at Best Buy, that's when I was a little bit better. I mean, I think I was still making beats on the same thing, the crack version, but I got a little better doing little strings and all that stuff. So the layout, I got to use the layout and stuff a little better.
so
But yeah,
you and Louis were rapping, and then he gave you just crack Fruity Loops. Like, hey, here you go.
yeah, we was actually we used to write rhymes and stuff back in like elementary school,
Wow.
like in sixth grade, and we got in trouble for it. I remember getting in trouble for it. Like we had a substitute teacher, and we were battling each other on like on paper. Yeah. Who's gonna bar for bar on paper, right? And then the substitute took it, and then one of our friends in the class, she was like, I'll just take it," and she took it, and threw it in the trash. And then because like we didn't want to get in trouble, like for what it said on there.
Right.
And then yeah, because we was cussing and stuff.
Of course. Hey, man. We cuss early, baby. Real shit. So hold up, though. You know Louis since elementary school?
Like fourth, fifth grade, yeah.
Damn.
he moved to the neighborhood, like or yeah, the neighborhood around that time. So
That's dope
like
as fuck.
yeah, it was cool.
Cause
But yeah,
like,
we in trouble for that.
nah, that's a trip. Cause what I'm tripping off of is, it's like, at least my parallel is when you see me posting my homie macaroni and cheese. That's the homie from high school, like back
Mm,
at the high school I went to back in LA called Uni, and it was like that's why I always go back to those moments where back in those days when I graduated '04 and I went to that school until '03. And back in lunchtime, we used to always have the ciphers, you know what I mean? And like my cousin was making beats. And so I was trying to get my cousin to make beats for macaroni. And he was like, man, he got to change his name. I'm like, man, he don't want to change his name. What you doing? He dope though. Like we go to the ciphers every day, and this nigga's just fucking freestyling, freestyling, and he coming off the top. Like the thing I appreciate about his freestyle ability was that he'll involve the crowd, and he that's where you know it ain't no written shit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Off top, man. He always and I found somebody else that liked to study the vocabulary the way I did, and so it's so dope that the reason why I always trip off of is like, okay, back in high school, and that's fucking 15 fucking years ago. You telling me about Louis, and I don't, what is that 15 years ago kind of shit? You know, maybe a little
Yeah.
more than that, right? And so,
Right.
but when you look over, it's like these people didn't come into your life for no reason. You didn't make a connection with them for no reason. And if that music was that solidifying thing, even though they got you got different paths on the way you take, it's still music that was the thing that joined. You know what I'm talking about? And like I've been bumping, but Natty watching you. I don't know who Natty is. I still ain't looked that up. But see,
It's a dope project, man.
man,
I mean, I ran through half of it. I have yet to. I have to go and re-listen to all of it when I have some time. But yeah, it's been good and getting reviews and stuff. So big ups to the homie Louie and Machete
machete
Sound.
sound, you know.
Yeah.
And I like the little reggaeton track that he got going, man. That shit is knocking. Bigger than playing in Pagunta. You know what I'm saying? But so if it goes back to that y'all was writing raps, because that was another thing I got a parallel with that. Y'all was doing raps on battling on paper, and then back when MySpace days was me and the homie Macaroni, you know when you could post on people's wall or whatever the fuck it was called back then.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
was doing battles that way, and nigga, we just got paragraphs of bars, you know what I mean? Boom. And this fool, he hit me one time. He was like, "I catch you in the Villa Victor," and all this. I'm like, oh, nigga, like, you know what I'm saying? That shit was funny, man. So it's like, man, to see that shit the way it turned out now, and then to think back to those days, like for me, when I started in seventh grade, 1999, and my cousin was already making beats. My cousin, like
Wow.
15, probably like a cool, like maybe brother 6 years older than me, and he's like 6 years older than my brother, so good 12 years older than me, right? And so he had already had a group that he was in. He was already like he had material to where I can hear, oh shit, you did this, like you know what I mean? You know that first
Yeah.
thing, like oh you did this, and then you hear the production, and then like niggas got the vocals on there and all that, and so just being around that, I I, I wrote my first lyrics in seventh grade, and I just remember I always wanted to come off different than what everybody else would expect. So I was always in vocabulary because I started learning Spanish in like third grade. So I was always trying to learn, just expand my mind. And
Yeah. Wow. Third grade. Third.
yeah, man, hey,
Wow.
Centinela Elementary School, man, and I wanted to tell the girl that she was pretty in Spanish. You know what I'm saying? So you know.
Hey man, I'm
Shit.
not mad at you.
Man, no, for real. Her name was Angela, man. I remember her to this day. Whew. But when I wrote my first rap in seventh grade, I remember just the part that I was so proud of was when I said they passed away and withered away like dust. Cause I'm like, what 13-year-old is using the word withered? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right. So then after that, my cousin showed me what he was making beats on. And he shows me the MTV music generator. I'm like, oh
What?
shit, this is how you making beats? And like to me, it looked foreign as fuck because nothing like I didn't understand what a DAW was back then. I didn't even have that terminology back then. I just seen it was a video game. Now you combining my love for video games with my love for music. Boom. I'm looking at all these little mushroom looking shapes and all this kind of shit. And I'm like, damn, so how you know? And then he was advanced with it. He already had a way to where he was taking the RCAs out, and that's how he was sampling. He was sampling it
Oh.
because he had the RCAs. He had some kind of way that the RCAs can go to the PlayStation, and then you save the beats on the memory card. So after I'm seeing this, then I think I asked my mama. My mama didn't help me with it, so I went. I sold some candy. You know what I'm saying? I was
Hey,
like,
candy is always a good thing to sell, right? When you're younger.
you feel me?
Got these apple straws. You want some apple straws?
Man, pickled apple suckers
Come
on
on.
deck, homie. Man, I had this jacket in seventh grade. It was a Nike jacket, and I cut the insides out of it. And I used to just stuff all my candy. I had different candy in my sleeves, like Airheads. Remember Airheads?
Yeah,
That's the little taffy looking shit.
right.
I had caramel suckers. I have king size Snickers. Fucking like, dude, I was locked up. So when I walk up, like, I got what you need. And at one point, I was making $40 a day doing that shit, man. My
Dang.
mama used to only give me. It started at $3. She used to give me $3 for lunch. I used to go to Latte Hair, and then every day when we leave Latte Hair, everybody get on the bus by the Burger King on Centinela and Latte Hair right there. But when we go to Burger King, that's when I realized, like, in fourth grade, I realized that I was poverty growing up. You know what I mean? And the way I
Yeah.
knew it was fucking. It was because of the lunch. I used to trip off of how come you get free lunch? How come I gotta pay 40 cents? How come they gotta pay more? You know what I mean? And that's where it kind of like put in my head like, ah, shit. Like, I didn't know how the county and all that shit worked when it came to the lunch shit. But based on my mama's income, I'm considered, I gotta pay something. She make enough to where we gotta pay something. You know what
Right.
I mean? And so when I used to go to, when flash forward to seventh grade, we go to that Burger King right there. Man, the first thing I went in there and the homies is like, oh yeah, we finna go buy some shit. Nigga, all I could buy was damn Whopper Junior, homie. That $3 didn't go far, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then she lowered it to $2 because then my other sister started going to the same school. But I got inflation, you know. Still selling that candy, man. It was the motherfucking thing, and still fuck Mr. Jennings to this day. He's a bitch ass. Fuck Mr. Jennings. I will
you,
always
still,
say that.
you still dream about him?
Man, always dreaming about him. But like, remember how you saying the substitute teacher came and threw your shit away?
Right.
Mr. Jennings was an older black, like he was the geography teacher and like world history or social studies teacher. But he was fucking like a ornery, like he was just angry at the world. Like, you know what I mean? And he was just hate. He was a hater and he was a snitch. You know, one time he snitched on me that I was selling candy, you know what I mean? Because something candy in his class. Well, people was just
But yeah.
taking orders, you know what I'm saying? I had them Snickers on deck. And so he called the fucking principal to the motherfucking room. I'm trying to get the homegirls like, hey, put the shit in your backpack. They gonna catch me. Like, you know what I mean? Nobody wanted to take it. So then when they came and got me, man, they made it like a drug bust. This shit.
All in your jacket right here, like you're like pouring it out. They just show a close up on your face.
Yeah, for real. It was like mug shot and everything. I'm like, fuck, man.
It's always like this too.
Man. It was so
Oh
fucked up.
man.
Dude, it was 13 Snickers. I always remember this whole shit. And so them 13 Snickers got taken. They got confiscated. And then the only way I could have got them back was if my mom came. Now, my mom knew I was selling candy because she used to see my inventory and like me counting. I had my money in a sock and all this shit. And she used to come jack me because like I would count all my inventory on Friday when I get home from school, put it all away, and then get prepared for Monday. So when I'm getting prepared for Monday, I count my shit again, and I look. That's back when M&M's Krispies first came out.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
those cracking.
It's crispy.
Ooh, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I go back to my inventory, and then I look, and then I see I got some M&M's gone. I go ask my brother, you take them? Nah. Go ask my sisters? Nah. I go to my mama. Mama, did you take me and my M&M? She like, yeah. And then she just look at me like Debo, like, what you gonna do about it, nigga? Like, so my mama used to jack me on that shit. But when I got caught, when I told her, she was like, all right, Timothy, like you can't sell no candy no more. After I go pick this up, you can sell this last off, and then you can't sell no more. So it was funny that she was going to go pick it up. She said, even though I got caught for it, you can sell this last batch, but don't sell no more.
This last batch.
Yeah.
It's bad you're gonna sell this last batch, but no more.
No more.
This is it. You out of the game.
Exactly. Yeah, I gotta retire. I gotta
You
retire.
gotta retire.
So man, I used that money and I bought the MTV generator. I bought me a PlayStation One. You know that the older looking one, the little small when they first came out with a new smaller PlayStation.
Oh, the PS1, yeah, the little white one. Yeah, okay.
I bought that, and I bought music generator, and I bought Madden. I just started fucking making beats on that shit, and my shit was whack too, cause uh, I didn't really know what I was doing, and then I sat down because both of my cousins, I got two cousins that make beats and rap and shit. But one veered way more into just production, and the other one was doing production and rapping. And so they both gave me game on how they did the shit. And my other cousin that rapped and produced, he showed me how he made his bass lines. He was like, because I didn't really know how to make bass lines. Like I knew to pick a bass sound, but I didn't know how to pattern it, you know? He was like,
Yeah.
oh, nigga, that's all I do. He was like, you pick the sound you want, and then I just take it and go. Which is like putting it everywhere.
Are you serious? That's funny.
He'll put many notes everywhere, just MIDI. And then you'll listen back to what the bass should sound like, and then you start taking out what you don't think sound good.
Oh,
So then
okay.
that way, okay, yeah, you hit a C5 and then a B3 and then a motherfucking G11. But if I take all these out, now this bass sounds like this because I'm only gonna leave whatever stood out to me that sounded good. And I started making shit that way. Then it was like some kind of like Windows computer shit where you can make beats, but it was pretty much loops. Like I didn't have these terminology, but my other cousin he put me on this because he seen that I took a liking to making beats. So I'm doing these loop shits, but I didn't really like because I went from making my own shit to using loops, and it don't feel like it's me. It just feels like I'm arranging what the fuck these loops are in here, you know?
Right.
And so, and then even another thing that's funny is that I made a beat. I made an Inspector Gadget beat with the bass
Well, that's
line.
dope.
I made that, and then I had made that. Blown, 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 blown. I made that kind of fucking beat, and so
Okay.
then I finally got me a crack version of.
FL. Hey, cracked version of the FL. Say, man. That's the originator.
Yeah, it is, dude. It's like the launching point. I couldn't save, and I made this beat on there. But my first beat I made on there was like a slap bass, and it was like ding, 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 and then I had these little chords going bling, bling, bling. And so I'm bumping it. I'm like, hey, and I'll show my brother. I'm like, man, ain't this dope? And he was like, yeah, it is actually dope. And I'm like, but I can't save it. And he was like, man, you know what you need to do? I'm like, what? So we called Snuff, which is the other cousin who's in production, and we just leave a voicemail with the song playing. So that way you can hear yourself.
That's good.
The old way of saving shit. So yeah, man. Yeah, that's where the fuck we at, man. The rest is fucking history off this shit. So what what got you from the crack version Fruity Loops over to Logic?
Um, so I was on Fruity Loops till the end of high school, and my brother, he's 6 years older than me, so but he's a graphic designer. So I think at that time he had switched his profession to graphic design from whatever he was doing before, and he had a Mac. And I wasn't too familiar with Macs because we had like an old Dell desktop, you know what I mean? So it was a PC, and he told me straight up, he's like Macs are for art, like for artists, like if you want to do like anything like artistic, like making music and stuff like that, then he's like you probably want to go to Mac. And I had to research stuff on the computer too. So I think I had a credit card or something, but I had yeah, at that time. Oh yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason I had credit, so I was just like, yeah, I was like, all right. Like at the end, we were working at Best Buy, and I found I had credit. I think who was it? Who was the one? Remember that one girl that left, and she had like a party at a game, game crazy, not game crazy, but
GameWorks.
game works at Ontario.
Was that?
Shooting, yeah, it was her. So she hooked me up with a raise before she left because she was in. Shout out to Shooting.
Shout out to Shooty for real.
Yeah, she hooked me up. She's like, "Hey, if you apply for this credit card," I was like, "She's like, we need to get our numbers up," and I was just like, "All right, what can you do for me? Like, you about to leave? Like, what's up? What's up?" She hooked me up with like a $2 raise or something like that. So yeah, I was like, yeah, like I was in there working inventory with this, like, not supposed to get paid how much I was supposed to get, get paid, but so I ended up getting approved for it, and I bought that. I think I bought that computer right there with that credit card, with the Best Buy credit card,
Mm,
and I started on GarageBand first.
mm.
So I didn't have Logic yet until 2008, 2009, I think. Yeah, because I paid for it. I straight up paid for Logic 9. It was like $500. And I remember sweating a little bit when I purchased it. 'Cause I'm not used to buying stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like on something like on a computer program. I didn't know what I was.
I
What's
remember what you always say. My bad for cutting you off.
No, you're good.
Um, but I take that. I take that, and everything I look at is when you said you want to be serious about something, spend some money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's how I found out. I think it was that moment because I was like, because I was more serious about. It. I was like, you're not going to be serious about nothing if you're not willing to spend something you work hard for,
Mm,
and you like it's going to make you want to work hard on that. So I mean, I did purchase it. I did have a little help. I had a little help from my ex girlfriend. So she was like, like she's like, get it. You're going to use it. I was like, all right. So I did that. I got it, and yeah. So let me ask you something with Fruity Loops and even with the music generator. What stood out to you? Because I know you're a Logic user now. So, like, what stood out to you more out of that, like that you pulled from those programs into Logic that you like?
okay. So when it came to using music generator, I don't know. I think it was the whole fact that I'm using the controller, but instead of pressing buttons to like move a character across the screen, like I'm pushing buttons to make sounds, and these sounds because I was always into pattern recognition. Like I always with the way I used to just realizing myself, the way I used to listen to music is I would hear the whole song and then I would like start listening like, ooh, okay, there's the clap. When's the clap gonna happen again? Oh, okay, so this is the pattern. Oh, there's the hi hats. When the hi hat goes, so then I would break each sound down, just like listening and focusing on that, and then put it all together. So when I finally start doing it on the generator, I'm like, all right, well, let me just do what they doing. I got to build it one thing at a time, and so it was that timeline. And with the timeline, like I wasn't sampling, that
Yeah.
my cousins would bring their shit through the RCA and make a sample, but I didn't have that luxury. I only could use what I got. So I'm like, well, usually when I didn't have that thing, I said fuck sampling because I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Right.
but I liked being able to take that plaster, I guess we want to call it, like how motherfuckers do look at a paint canvas and just throw whatever paint on there. That thing that my cousin told me of putting the bass lines and putting the different sounds, that's how I got all my melodies and shit. Because it's like, okay, well, I know what sounds good because I listen to music. So if I listen to this shit and it sounds clink, 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 all right, I'm gonna take the clink and take out the rest of the shit, and then that's gonna be something. So then when I switched over to Fruity Loops, what changed the game for me, I didn't know this at the time, but that was a damn step sequencer. It made everything easier. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, just put the hi hat right here. Just put the fucking claps right here. I'm like, boom, the 4, the 8, all right, gangster. And so, uh, but the part that still didn't, I would make my drums ended up being dope on Fruity Loops because now I got something that is guiding me
Right.
versus just a blank canvas over on a music generator. And then but my sounds didn't sound right because all it was just basic notes. I'm just playing one note at a time, and that's everything. I'm picking different sounds, but I'm only playing one note. I didn't know chords and shit like that. So
Yeah.
what I've drawn over to my Logic days now, because the way it happened for me was is when I got in my car accident and I was getting depressed and shit. 2012, I broke up with my girl. Like finally, like oh yeah, we ain't gonna get back together, kind of shit. And I'm
Mm.
like, all right, well, what do I like, you know? Because I started living for her. I started trying to do everything to make her happy, kind of shit, and I was losing who I was, you know? So I was like, man, what the fuck do I like? Because I didn't want to go to the movies and none of that shit. I'm like, I only go to movies with her, kind of shit. And so after all that, I was like, man, I like movies, I like video games, I like music. I was like, we had already back in high school, that's when I was rapping and shit. So I've laid tracks on wax before. I've seen people reaction. We did our own little mini performance in the backyard. I've seen people reacting to that. And then so I'm like, man, you know what? I had bought the APC 40 from Best Buy. Bought the APC
Mm.
40, and I'm like, that's when I started going to shows. 2012 it was like going to shows like a motherfucker. So when I'm watching the DJs up there, I'm like, man, I want to know what it looked like from that side. What the view looked like from that point of view, you know? And so
Yeah.
I fucking bought the damn APC 40, and while I'm doing it, like this is back when I had Guitar Hero and DJ Hero and all that shit, and I just wanted more control. So then when I fucking got
The APC.
the APC 40, thank you.
Don't worry about it.
That's why two of us, baby.
Yeah.
I got the APC 40, and I sat there, and I'm like, the thing I didn't like was is I could put songs in a row, and I could make the songs start where I want them to start, but I'm not blending and I'm not scratching. Like I grew up liking Jazzy Jeff, you know what I'm saying? That was my motherfucking hero, so I wanted to scratch. And after that, I tried to make a track on Ableton, and that shit was just confusing. I didn't understand the session view from the arrangement view. I didn't understand what that was. So I'm like, man,
That's my dog.
I did use. Hey, nah, hey, that life.
You want to say what's up?
Hey,
We're recording right now. All right, we'll see. Go study hard. He's over there. He's over there in class. All right, COVID. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Class, E class,
E class. Yeah, we
man.
all in E class now.
Hey, facts, man, facts. That's what I'm saying, man. From Vegas to Texas, man, we out here connected, baby. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, nah, I didn't like the way the music was made on that shit. So I made a track in GarageBand before, and then I'm like, well, if Logic is the better GarageBand, then fucking made sure I got me that Logic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no. And I sat there for like 7 hours straight, man, and I made this track called "Pump You Up." That was the first track I made in Logic. It's on my. I don't know if the SoundCloud still got it because I ain't paid for the unlimited shit. But it's the
Mm,
first song I have on my SoundCloud because I'm like, all right, well, I'm finna just document this journey. And that shit, when I listen to it, I see what I was trying to do because I still had like a change up at the end and I tried to make it trap and all this shit, but I still didn't understand what the fuck I was doing, you know?
right. Okay, I get what you're saying. So like with Logic when you were making that track, um, what did you learn from that one? What did you learn from that track?
From that track, I learned keyboard. I don't think I had a MIDI keyboard. Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
have no MIDI keyboard, so I'm just clicking. I did the click shit. I did it like I went back to the generator way, and I made my bass line. I made this little synth sound. I put drums in, but I was clicking because the click shit looked familiar from generator days.
Right.
Looking
Okay.
at your MIDI, just a MIDI grid basically. I didn't
Right.
know what
Okay.
a MIDI grid was in Fruity Loops or GarageBand, you know. And so what I learned was is I made that first beat and then I figured out how to do because everything was just visual. So when you see the way the tempo was, I'm like, oh shit, because I know one of my favorite producers was Manny Fresh, because he'll have a lot
Uh,
of tracks where it start out one way, but then towards the end of the track, now it's a different kind of track. You know what I mean? And he
right.
taking out elements and putting shit in to where it's like, damn, you don't even recognize. You think you're listening to two different tracks, but even though it's still one song. And so I did all that in that one track. I figured out how to do the speed change. I slowed it down to like 111 BPM, and it was 128 starting out because I was just going to shows, and I'm like, oh, let me make my 128 four on the floor kind of shit. And so while I was doing that, um, then I switched it over to 111. I added Arnold Schwarzenegger doing. He was talking about the pump. He was what he gets from the pump. And that was the same thing on what I got from the music. It was like, because he's like, oh, it feels like I'm coming and all this shit. Like, you know, yeah, it's funny as fuck. But he was talking about he loves working out so much that it feel like he busting a nut when he making his biceps bust. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
Yeah.
dang, like just to think of some shit like that. So I put that audio in there. So I learned how to do all that shit, even though maybe the Geek Squad knowledge came in handy, you know what I'm saying? But then I just started making more tracks. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna get better. But I didn't really. I feel I'm better, way better now because I spent time trying to learn. Like I looked at my life and I was like, dang, dude, I had music classes all like a lot through high school. Even when I switched
Mm.
schools and went to the Victorville school, I still had another motherfucking music class, and it was music appreciation, music composition. When I graduated from VBC, I had a piano class. So I've been getting music theory, but and then and then I had choir in high school, but I never wanted to take it on because I was like, oh, I don't want to get restricted by theory. But theory has helped me make better shit now because now I know how to do chord progressions. There was this girl named Karen, some white lady on YouTube. And she be like, she'd tell you the scales and shit. She like, isn't that neat? And I'm like, it is neat. You know?
It is kind of neat, yeah.
Because like you'll hear shit and you don't know that you're hearing what you're hearing. So then like being around Mike Rojas and he playing the guitar and shit and he's showing me shit. All right. When you learn the 2-5-1 chord progression and you hear how these same notes, there's that one YouTube video that say like play these shit freeze. Okay, cool. My shit
Yeah,
froze
yeah,
for a second.
it was frozen. I was like,
Yeah, I'm like, oh.
what happened? We This is the first episode. Why they do that to us? Why they do it?
Shit. Yeah, nah, that's how it is on my first cook-up session, man. Um, but yeah, nah, learning the chord progression and structure, then it made my tracks because I didn't know that I was doing one key. You know what I mean? Like always at the top on Logic, it say C major. You know, I never changed that before. I just left it what it was. But I'll play different shit, not knowing what I was playing. Ray had told me, he was like, "Hey man, just write the letters on the keyboard, and that way you know what you're playing." I'm like, "Oh," so I did that, but it was a crutch because I was depending on them letters to know, okay, I'm playing B, G, D, versus now I just know, okay, there's a G. Like I know now because I put in that work.
Right.
The people, and that's why I shot them niggas out all day because they did help. So after the lady Karen something, just put in Karen piano tutorial, you'll find that shit. Another motherfucker was Andrew Furmanzik. He got a whole ass course, and then I fuck with Piano. It's like piano, but then TE, and then Piano Pig and Piano Tutorial or Jazz Tutorial, I think it is. All them motherfuckers will give you everything you need to know about theory, what chords, the progressions, everything. So that's why it was so dope when you gave me feedback on Mas Fuerte because you was like, dude, it sounds full. And I was like, yeah, because like now I know what full means, you know? I started out with, what's the niggas called? It's called Point Blank Online. They got this electronic music course. It's like a 6 or 9 episode series on YouTube, and they show you how to make tracks from scratch. So I watched that after I did the pump to learn how to do advanced chords and all that shit. And so, yeah, nigga. What about what did you learn? When you got to Logic, did it just feel because you said you spent like $500 on Logic 9. Did it
Yeah.
feel like a natural flow going from that you used to use Fruity Loops, now you on Logic?
Well, Fruity Loops. What I liked from that, I didn't use a step sequencer on it. I
Mm.
didn't like it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird. I didn't like the step sequencer just because I don't know. All right, so I guess I didn't know how to make that's the sequencer. I didn't know how to make it like longer, I guess, or duplicate it for whatever reason. And I was like, I don't need this. Like, so I would use a piano roll. So piano roll through and through is what I use, like not well on Logic too, but then Fruity Loops, and yeah, so I would just do everything. My whole setup was piano roll and the patterns page, so where I can like place it, where I needed to place it, that kind of thing. Um, yeah, so with that piano roll, it was like the same thing in GarageBand. And it was like I was like, all right, cool. There's a piano roll there. You can input, your MIDI notes, anything you want to, like any of the scale, change anything up you wanted to. But yeah, I got the M Audio, the Key Studio. I still have it. It's right here at Best Buy too. And I got that. It was I think this was like $99 at the time. I think it is something like that still, if they still make it. But I used a little discount. You know what I'm saying? That's when the discount was good. Like. For those people that don't know, Best Buy's discount before was like 10% above, like 5%, 5%,
above cost, homie.
Above cost, yeah.
Yeah. Miss that shit, and it's funny how Best Buy, by having that discount, and this is what they say. If you show somebody your treasure, they show you where your heart is. So think about what purchases that you made when you can buy something from Best Buy with that discount. Music
right.
Shit. Ain't that
it's crazy because I got my first M Audio condenser mic, the USB one. I got it from there too. And that was the first one because we used to record on the Logitech USB mic, the one that's not even for that. You know what I mean? It was a little stick. It was yeah, because before, so when we were using Fruity Loops and we wanted to record like onto whatever we used, Audacity, because it was free, and we used Audacity, we used a little USB mic, and we used beats from SoundClick. Because when my beats weren't on par, we were like, yo, let's just check out some SoundClick beats, some epic ass SoundClick beats. But yeah, so I still got the M Audio Key Studio, and I was in garage. I don't know, it's not 88, it's a little shorter. 61, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so I got that, and then in GarageBand was the piano roll. So I would use I didn't know how to use the sampler, I guess. The sampler to where you can put drums on it. I would just use the regular drums pack that they had in GarageBand. And when Logic first came out, or Logic 9 first came out, I'd use that. But then it wasn't until I got my drum machines, and that's when I really started doing the drums a lot better. Started focusing on that one. But yeah, it was the piano roll. Piano roll got me through and through everything, through each talk.
Okay, so you making beats? Dang, man. So it started with Louis crack version of Fruity Loops.
Yeah, that one you could save because it was cracked. So it had it had the little file in there where you double clicked it and it just made it to where you were able to save on the demo, which was the full version probably. So, and that's when I would input all these sounds and stuff like little bat sounds. And I remember I made this one beat. I tried to make it like a scary beat, like a Halloweenish beat, and it ended up sounding like a thriller beat. Had little bats flying everywhere and all this different stuff. But I've always been into that.
See, and that's what I'm saying. That's another caveat because it's not by happenstance that you know how to do all this Foley shit, man.
Oh yeah, I liked it. I like listening to that stuff, the layering and just everything has a purpose in the sound. Like things, I know it's when I think about Foley or when I think about like post, it's always it's the things that you don't hear that you hear that they want you to hear. Like you don't think about not hearing that, but then you hear it when you put in movies or something, and it gives a definition of like of that scene or what you want, like the focal point kind of thing, or what what the audio engineer or whatever wants you to know what's happening, and sets the tone, sets the mood, sets how you feel, especially like in like movies and everything. So
Dude,
I
exactly
like
that.
that.
And then so, cause real shit, man, you smashed the motherfucking short cartoon for Machete, Machete.
Oh, I
You smashed
appreciate
that
it, man.
shit, man. Real shit. Cause it's like when dang, I wish you could have seen my reaction like raw. You had went to the bathroom when I was starting.
Yeah.
Like I wish you could have seen it so like cause the thing that I trip off of, right, that I've realized is that as an artist, we always just want to get appreciated for the effort that we put in. And it's like
Yes.
at the
Yes.
end of the day, you ain't gotta like the shit, but you can like that this nigga worked hard and I put all my effort into this shit and I was so precision and surgical to try to make this shit be this, you know? And when I was listening to it, I'm tripping off of it because I'm like, hold up, was that sounded? Was when it first starts out? I was like, hold up, was that sound there in the beginning? And I'm like, oh shit. Then it got over to the part where with him going through the bushes. And I'm like, hold on, was it shh, shh, was that there? It made me second guess what was there and what wasn't there. So then the part where after the bushes, then you look and like you can hear a little background shit of like you know what I mean? And then when
Yeah.
you see the shot, and I'm like, I remember there was a shot, but I didn't hear no body drop. I remember that distinctly. I was like, I don't think there was a body drop when I heard that. Then when you do the top down view and it's like shaking and you got a helicopter sound and shit, I'm like, oh, nigga, what you mean? And then the last part, which shows you a complete difference, is because instead of just hearing a schlink of the thing going in, the way it goes, it was no audio, no audio, then schlink going through the robot. So you can hear that shit going to it, then the schlink, then like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like what was it? It was LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, Linda. Maybe it was Linda, where I found something that went through courses of showing you what Foley is, because I didn't have that word before. And the Foley that they showed us was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And it was like showing the back behind the scenes of them taking.
Oh yeah, I seen that. I remember that. It was on Facebook, and people were like sharing it because they were like, "Oh, what? Like nobody's seen that before, right?" And then everybody was just like, "Oh, they're like their minds were blown." I was like, "Yeah, I would love to do that. Like, I would love that."
You do it though, and that's what's dope. Like you took it. That's why I'm trip off with this music shit is that you take it from an idea, it's in your head. Oh, I would like to do that. How do I do that? And then you don't know how to do that, but then as you keep walking, stuff is gonna end up coming across you because your brain is already open to, hey, I want to do that. So back when you was at that studio that I came to, y'all wasn't doing Foley there, right?
We did. That was at Art Institute in San Bernardino. They closed down too, actually. But
Crazy.
yeah, because all the art, I don't know what happened. I think they got like in some legal problems or whatever. But anyway, that studio we went to, it was the Studio B, um, and that one had a live room and then three control rooms. The one we were in was just a regular control room that hooked in to the live room, and then there was a third one for video, but we never used that. We did Foley. We did that for one of our projects. Was a the I Am Legend one that I
That
showed you
was it
the whole
there.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that there. Yeah.
So when you was at Burbank, was that interning again?
So yeah, the one where you went to, that was the school. The school was there, and then when I went to well, it was Pasadena at that studio over there, Firehouse Recording Studios. That's where that was. I was interning there just to check out everything, see how everything worked, which was dope. It was a dope experience
What's your biggest takeaway from that moment?
at the studio.
Yeah. Cause
Um,
you already went to school, my bad real quick. But
no,
you
no, you're
already
good.
went to school, you know how to do Foley, because I remember the I Am Legend with the puddle sounds and everything. He was like, man, what you notice about this? I'm like, he's like, nah, man, we took all the sounds out and I put every sound back. And I'm like, oh shit, motherfucker, like, I Am Legend. And that's when you gave me that game. You was like, man, your mind doesn't just like what you said earlier, just basically that negative space. Your mind doesn't think about not hearing that until you put something in it to be like, yeah, you heard that? And you're like, oh shit, I wouldn't even think to hear that because we only hear what, like, that's the crazy part about sound is like your eyes is looking to make sense of what you're hearing. And then it
Yeah,
will make sense and it'll blend them together. But yeah,
yeah.
you already know Foley, and then you already got music production experience, and now you're going over to a studio to check it out and get the experience. What? Okay, we'll go like this. What is something that a big lesson that you learned that you still use to this day, and then what's a mistake that you did there that you wish you wouldn't have did?
Let's start off with the mistake because that one it stops. You know, it's more clear. The mistake that I did wasn't. I think is that I could have. I don't know about putting myself out there more, but I could have been. I could have been there more. I had the opportunity to be there more. I mean, but I mean, I have a family too, so that was weighing a lot on my mind. And because I did a lot of running, it was just a runner's job basically. So it wasn't necessarily the experience of being there to produce or to like engineer or that kind of thing. You would just have to sit and watch sometimes. So you might not even be able to be in the actual like room, the control room or whatever, and have them listen. Every so often you would be able to, and every chance that they said, "Oh yeah, they'll let you sit in," I'm right there, dude. I'm right there. I'm sitting in because that's what I want to be there for. So yeah, the mistake for that was maybe I could have gone to a better place to where I had more hands-on experience. But then again, I was able to see like how that side of the industry worked, like the actual recording and everything, and having people in, what it takes to. It's a customer service job, you know. Like you go over there and you go and you run, you get people's orders, you know, orders mess up, you got to explain to them, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. You got to, the clients that go in there to record, you got to help them like luggage in and out their luggage, well, their, you know, their instruments or whatever they're using to record. Um, Keep the place clean, you know. Um, so I mean, I guess so. Yeah, that was my negative part. Was just I wish I could have been there more. I wish I could have, you know, how I played out a little bit differently. Maybe I'd get more opportunities.
You like
Um,
squeeze more juice out of the resource.
yeah, yeah, because I would definitely be um, a lot. I mean, better off actually, better off with the people I met there if I had put in more work that way. And but the biggest thing to take away from there is that I was in the studio. Like that was my favorite part about it. I was there. I didn't care what I was doing. Like, you know what I mean? I got to meet. I think yeah, I met like uh, freaking Malcolm Jamal Warner. I met him. He was there.
Crazy.
He was crazy because he was just like, "Hi, I'm Malcolm." I tried to play it cool. You know? I was like, "Hey, I was like, hey, I'm Ed." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, "Well, I know who you are." Like, but he went, he went there because he did like a upright bass. He had like a big like acoustic upright bass, and they were doing some videography and him doing some spoken word over the bass while he was playing it. So that was like, dang, that was dope. And I got to meet a few people. Um, I was talking to some of the. There was a frequent guy. They always did a lot of Disney music over there, so they would bring in like orchestra, like mini orchestra and stuff over there. And the guy, I forgot his name right now, but one of the guys that ran it, like that would bring, he would always be there with them and make sure like he was a producer basically. So he wanted to go make sure everything was good. But I remember I was baking some cookies or something, right? And we were in the kitchen area, the kitchenette, and they were eating. And I remember just sitting talking to him. I was like, so how do you do everything, right? Like this guy's gonna go. I overheard them talking about how they're gonna go like overseas to where like the Beatles recorded like in London, and use that to record some more Disney stuff for like the Disney cruises or something like that. And I remember talking to him about him. He went to church. Like he was talking about he goes to church. He's like, you know what, man? He's like, whatever you do, no matter how successful you are, you have to have that balance, right? And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm a Catholic Christian. You know, I go to school. I mean, I go to church, and then I do this, but I never let this get bigger than than me going to church and studying and like his way of
Faith, yeah.
his faith, yeah. And I was like, wow, like it humbles them, and that's why, like, because there's other people there, and they had a big, they had a big head,
Ego,
and
yeah.
yeah, they were like, oh my gosh, like, where's my chicken? Like, I was like,
Yeah.
they forgot it. Do you want me to go get it? He's like, no. He's like, and he came, yeah, like that kind of thing, and
Before Postmates.
yeah, before Postmates, I was the mate. You know what I mean? I'd go over there, freaking.
Fuck.
But yeah, the dude, he was talking to me about this real shit. I was like, oh, like he was telling me, like, he's like, if you really want to do it, he's like, you'd be able to do it. He's like, but you're not gonna do it by yourself.
Mm,
You're only one man. You know
mm.
what I mean? Like, there's something bigger that's gonna, that you, like, God, you would have to rely on. And he was giving me all that. I was like, wow, like, that was it was deep. And I took that with me. I was like, yeah, it's true. And I forget about it sometimes, but I always revert back to that conversation with that gentleman. And he's really, really successful in that. So, you know, he knows what's up. So that's one of the biggest takeaways from that, is getting to meet all the different people and their different perspectives on everything and how they did it. And of course, just like being in the sessions, uh, I didn't know I didn't know how crazy, like overdub, like for like cartoons and stuff were. But they're doing this audiobook on My Little Ponies.
Okay.
On one session, I think it was like a Saturday. This lady came in. She had the short hair. I think she had like her boobs done, whatever. You know what I mean? Like she was a normal, like, but she was like 40 or something like that, right? 40, 45, and she just like a normal, like, I don't know, Southern California, like, freaking
Okay.
older lady with the hair. Like, I don't want to call her a Karen because she might not have been, but she had that haircut. She had that haircut. But she was like, she went in there into the booth, and, like, I met her. I was like, hey, how you doing? And I was sitting down in the couch there while I watched the engineer work. I was like, okay, so at this time, like, they're setting in their vocals, and she goes in the booth, and she's in there, and her voice completely changes, like to the character of, I don't know which pony it was, and
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was crazy how talented these, like, excuse me, these overdub artists are,
Voiceover.
these voiceover artists are, and it's crazy. And that opened my eyes too. I was like, wow, like, I want to do that too. Like, I want to do everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just do music.
Man.
Like, that was cool. That kind of stuff opened my eyes to more stuff that you would learn about. Like, when I was in class, they would talk about it, but then when you see it firsthand, it's different. It's a
Yeah.
different feeling. This is, yeah, mind blown for sure. Like, it was crazy, but that was cool. And that was only like 6 months, dude. Like, six.
Damn.
Man, no. It was like 3 or 4 months. 4 months. It was 4 months I was there,
That's
and
crazy.
even though I was like salty, I was like, man, I want to learn more stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but I did. Like, at the end of it all, I did learn a lot. I
Hmm.
mean, I probably not like hands on, like, mixing and stuff, but I can do that at home. Like, I can't see the rest of the stuff. Like, that's some people don't get a chance to see that.
Look, and that Bing went off for a reason too. Cause yeah, everybody don't get a chance to see it. And like the thing that's a trip is like the reason why people be, oh, hey, you're a painter. Oh yeah, how come you're a painter? Well, my dad was a painter, and so the main key always is getting pre-exposed to something. So then when you get exposed, because everything is off exposure. If you never got exposed to that Fruity Loops, you know what I mean, your path would have been different. You would have found something else to make music on because it was always in you to do it. But just getting that exposure to see what nobody else was gonna see, like you're in places that the normal. Because I feel like once you whatever culture you jump into, you become part of a subculture, and then you still have the mainstream that everybody else is a part of. And it's like that's how I feel with set life. You know what I mean? When I was all on set and doing all that shit, I'm like, damn, I'm seeing shit that I know normal people don't see. And just like what you saying, like now you gotta act all normal and shit. Like it's funny
Yeah,
when they introduce you
yeah.
and
Like, how do you
introduce
act?
themselves. I learned later because I was green with that. I made some mistakes with motherfuckers. I ain't gonna lie, because I be fanning out, man. Like fuck, dude. Like because you built this relationship with people through the screen because you like grow up with watching these people. You know what I mean? and then it's like now they're in your face. They like within 6 feet of you. You know what I'm saying? And then when they go, when you go up to them, it's like, oh yeah, my name. Like when I went on Black Jesus, uh, he walked up. He was like, I seen him. I was like, hey, smoke yours. Like that was the first thing I said to him, man. And because I was all in Boondocks, and Boondocks had Partner Rumble, and like I was all on Partner Rumble, looking at that, and they tube steak and all this shit. Yeah.
Two steak the grape. Put you in your fucking face.
I fuck with real nigga little kids. Oh, Bauer. Dude. When I seen him, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, what's up, man? I'm Slink. I'm like, nigga, I know who you are, nigga. Like, and like people be looking at me like, man, you talking to me like that? But you know, I'm just me. But then I'm fanning out too. And so
Yeah.
back when I worked for Ty Lopez, that's when the homie told me what to do because we was talking about directors. Like, it was one of the homies from the video team, and at this time, well, it was 2015, so I was already making music. I already had a SoundCloud, and I already had bought the DJ controller from Best Buy. So I was already trying to do my thing, and one of the well, he's a director now and shit, but he was one of the camera dudes, and we was in the break room talking about directors, and he's like, we was talking about Ryan Coogler. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, you haven't seen Fruitville Station? I was like, nah. I was like, Creed. He was like, oh, Creed is dope. And I'm like, what? I was like, man, I just wonder what it would feel like to be in a room with one of them directors and be like, ask him everything I want. Cause I always like directing. Like, I got the camera and I was doing photography shit, but since when you really think about it, we're engineers because we're making a solution out of nothing. We're creating something, a bridge from somewhere to somewhere else, but that piano roll is our bridge. You know what I mean? We built that bitch. And so he was like, man, you know, it won't be hard. He said, it's not that hard to get in a room with black directors. I'm like, what you mean? He's like, yeah, no, dude. He's like, if you reach out, like most people, because that's back when my nigga, what's my nigga that did Boys in the Hood?
I forgot his name. I forgot his name.
Fuck is missing my. I'm thinking of Langston Hughes, but it's along them terms.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, OG off Crenshaw. I can't think of his name, man. But back when yeah, right. Who man? He like, nigga, we only as smart as Google let us be, baby. We can get that real quick.
Yeah. John Singleton.
John Singleton.
John Singleton. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, John Singleton, man.
John Singleton.
I like motherfucking Boys in the Hood, and I was always a Martin Scorsese fan. Like I was fan of directors, and it made me trip out because I always cared about time and sequence. Because you can show something happening, but when you show that thing happening and how it came to happen, so the sequence and then at what time these things are gonna happen, it always made me trip out. So when I watched like Memento or City of God, where people did the foreshadowing in the back, oh, that was always my shit. I was like, I like these kind of movies. And so when I'm telling him about that shit, he's like, yeah, man. He's like, nah, Fruitville Station. He was like, man, he just got approved to do the Black Panther. What's it called? I'm like, what? What?
What?
And I'm like, he was like, so he's telling about that. I'm like, man, I'm like, well, what would I say if I see him? He's like, this is what you do. He's like, you go up to him and you shake their hand, and all you got to tell him is, real big fan of your work, and I respect your work, and woo woo woo. And I'm like, that's it. He's like, yeah. He was like, man, we're artists at the end of the day, and anybody that says they respect your work, it means something because when you look at it from your perspective, it's like, nigga, I put so much work into it. So when somebody comes and say, hey, I respect your work, it's like, dang, nigga, like. And so I finally got to use that. I used it on Shannon Sharp.
Oh, nice.
Back when I was postmating, I was in LA. I ain't gonna say where he lived, but I was in the elevator or where he lived and shit. And I'm there with my Postmate bag, and fucking Shannon Sharp gets on the damn elevator. And I'm like, man.
Yo, Shannon Sharp.
I can't act like this not fucking Shannon Sharp over there. Fuck, man. Like, but it being in LA, you see that shit. So I'm like, I just looked over, and it was another dude, like an elevator dude on there, like the elevator maintenance dude on there. So it was me, the elevator maintenance dude, that Shannon Sharp. So I'm standing there with the bag, and I look over, and I'm like, hey, man, You got looking at me. He got his like Broncos T-shirt on and shit. And I'm like, man, old school Broncos, not that new purple, old school new purple, John Elway shit.
The throwback.
Throwback. And so I'm like, hey man, I'm not gonna. I know you in your you in your comfortable space. I'm not finna fan out and everything. I'm just saying, I know who you are. I respect your work and thank you for holding it down for us. He just looked at me like, hey man, thank you for the love. Thank you for the love.
Thanks for the love. Thanks for the love. That's
And
what's
when
up.
he got out the elevator, he was like, hey man, God bless, God bless. And I'm like, all right.
Hey.
I'm like, all right, it worked. I know what to do.
You act normal.
Act normal, you know?
It's crazy because like we're so like a lot of artists and stuff. Like for me, little like when I ask, even when I ask my wife to come over here and listen to beats, like I'm just like, hey, come listen to this. I get so defensive, like freaking defensive. Like I look at her face, like I look anybody too. Anybody that comes in and just looks, or I show them a beat, I look right at their face. And I try not to though, because I was like, I know I'm gonna feel a certain way if I don't like that reaction that I want, or any type of reaction that's positive. I just want to be like, I get pissed, bro. I was like, I get pissed like if I don't get that. So I try to stay focused on like just all right. So what you think? Like like and it's a feeble thing. it's a feeble feeling.
But that's what's so dope about this because producer thoughts. I got my own thoughts. I'm over here creating my own shit. You got your own thoughts. You over there creating your own shit. But that is a parallel we all experience. Because even with, I think it's a Jay Z lyric where he say, tried to show his uncle. He's like, peeped out my eye, see if he was bobbing his.
Yeah.
That whole lyric where you try not to look at him, but you can't help it because it's something you did. Like these are the grown version of fucking science projects, in my opinion. Because you used to watch everybody bring their science project to school and be like, what you making? Everybody, 90% of the class is making volcanoes. But
right.
Some people made the fuck out of them volcanoes. They got little crevices and it leads to a village of people and shit. And then you're like, damn, hold up. Like, what the fuck? And so when I look at making beats, I used to do that too. I'm like, man, I'll show my brother and my brother be like, and I'm like, because that was my person that I looked to. And I'm like, fuck, man, all right. But instead of quitting, I'm like, okay, well, let me just go make something else. And then I just make something else. And I made something else. And I remember even one time, man, I was back at my mom's crib and the shit off my speakers. And I'm just in the beginning making a melody. And like, I'm doing the piano sounds and shit. And like, the melody was off. But all I hear from my mom from the other room, she just go, and I'm like, you laughing at my beat, nigga? you want to go night-night? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to fight you, mama. I'm laughing at my shit. It ain't even finished yet. Like, you giving me an unfair shit. Fuck, man. So, yeah, I definitely know that. And yeah, I've grown because you know what I've grown to now? I've grown to everybody's not going to like your shit. And it's meant to be that way. Because the reason why people say shit resonate is because we got 205 bones in our body. The shit resonates in our bones. Everything don't resonate with everybody. Like back when I used to watch Police Academy, I always cared about the black dude that was making all the sounds. That's why I ended up making sounds when I sold to people and all that shit because I was tripping off this dude's making different sounds that sound like the shit that it sound like. You making car sounds, the alarm, all this shit. But I bet when everybody watched Police Academy, everybody's not paying attention to that. They probably paying attention to the lead character or paying attention to Hightower, the tall ass dude. Like everybody got their own thing, but for me, it was the nigga with the sounds. And so when I play my music, I'm like, okay. Back when I was doing all this EDM, I'm like, everybody's not gonna fuck with it because everybody don't fuck with it. I didn't even like EDM at first until Derek from Carfi. Until I got the Carfi.
Oh yeah.
That's when I started liking EDM because I'm over there with Derek and Justin and all these fools that's playing this shit all day. I'm like, okay, I like this. I like this. I don't like that. Because my thing was, I didn't, and that's, you even can see with my latest critique of your track earlier, the other day, was I always like shit that change up. Like a lot of the EDM shit back in the day was just house. It was one melody,
constant
one chord progression, and four on the floor. And it's like, dude, y'all like this shit? But then, like, I remember, and Around the World. I heard Around the World through Dave Chappelle's show, man. And I'm like, nigga, I
Yeah.
fuck with this. You like, come on, titty. You know what
Yeah. So.
I'm saying? So I'm like, dude, I like this song. And yeah, man. But when I used to show people my tracks, I'm like, okay, they ain't gonna like it because they don't even like this kind of music. So am I gonna stop making it even though I like this kind of music? Nah. And so when I show people, I'm like, all right, just let me know if you fuck with it. I just want to hear some kind of feedback because even if you don't fuck with it, let me know why you don't fuck with it because I'm still gonna take something from that. I don't gotta even take it and switch my whole style up, but I'm gonna be like, okay, this is why they say they don't fuck with it. If we all got a common base of we like all these kind of tracks and shit like that, but when you listen to this, you not fucking with it because what my I don't got it. And like Brandon, I used to go to Brandon a lot because I know Brandon would give me straight real feedback. He'll be like like real honest feedback. And I showed him a remix because I started making remixes once a week back when I was in Van Nuys.
Mm-hmm.
And I had made a remix, the Flume remix. And this is finally where I was so proud. I've been working hard. I got my bass to sound right. I got different progressions throughout the shit, and like I was really going in on mixing at the time, so my shit sounded good. The bass like knocks. I would have my beat in my car, so I'll do the car test, and I'm like, this
Right.
shit knocks. Like I feel it sounds good. So I showed it to him. I'm like, hey man. Oh, and then cause my problem was just like you said, you want to do everything. I used to try to put so many different sounds and shit. My shit used to just be cluttered. Boom, 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 boom. So now when I made the Flume track, this is when I'm doing my my 6 sound challenge, where I only could do 6 sounds. Drums count as one sound, but 5 other sounds can, and that's my whole track. And so
Okay.
I was shoving the beat, and I'm proud of the way it sounds, not the patterns and shit, but the way it sounds. So I'm like, hey man, what'd you think? He was like, man, it sounds good and all this. He was like, but when you got to this part, I was expecting the bass line to change, and it never changed. Yeah, because I was trying not to get too complicated, you know? I'm like, but
Right.
thank you, because you at least said it sound good, and I know I got that part right, but now I got to combine the versatile and all the different shit that come in my mind with still knowing how to make shit sound good.
Okay. Yeah, I took a lot from those critiques. That's one thing that I do. Like, I fall in love with the foundation of what you built first, and then when it comes to doing the layout of it, that's my problem. Like that I have, but it's opening my eyes a lot more, my ears too, of how I want to create as a template now for me as a. So I think I don't know. I think that happens to a lot of artists, right? Like they that's when they start getting into their own style and their signature basically. And I
Yeah.
think that's like it was just like it just happened the other day while I was thinking about it, like an epiphany. So well, for me in my head, what I'm thinking about is because I come from b-boying too. So from dancing, so we used to talk about, we used to talk about how when we break to like the music, right? So if you don't have musicality, you don't like you lose points basically. If somebody else is doing better than you at that, then you're gonna lose. But like when we always dance, like it's different to feel the music and dance, and then like translating that into making beats too. So what I'm doing is taking from b-boying, like like the technique of a sentence.
Mm,
So when b-boying, you have your sentence.
what that mean?
Is your It means like so when you go in and you do your set, well at least in my head anyway, you go and you top rock, you start from the top, and your sentence is filled with verbs, nouns, adjectives, everything, right? Which is all your move sets. You can go back up, you can go back down, anything to make the sentence grab your attention. And then your ending punctuation, it could be an exclamation mark, it could be a period, it could be a question too. Even like you have to put a you have to put a like a punctuation mark at the end.
Mm.
So that could be a freeze. That could be like like well, you have to freeze it, or something else that just puts a stop to it. And I'm gonna, I want to implement that into like my music and stuff. So within transitions and everything, I think that'll help me out. Like, like thinking about it more and a way to yeah, transitions, basically transitions and different changes in the song or in the yeah, in the what is it called? Like, yeah, in the break, like in the breaks and everything in the songs. Just like I want to, that's how I want to implement it. And it just clicked in my head. I don't know. I had this knowledge in my head the whole time, and sometimes it takes forever just for it to come to fruition, or not to fruition, but come to light,
Yeah, because it's
like
like
within
in
you.
the corridors of your mind, and it's like, hold up, man, you know you can combine these two over here. It's like, oh
Yeah,
shit, I didn't think about that, you know. And
I
then,
know.
and I never looked at it as a sentence. I always just looked at it like, okay, because y'all called it set, you know what I mean? I looked at it like a set. I'm like, all right, the set is. I looked at it like a set list. I didn't know about DJ sets at that time when y'all was b-boying. I just knew about
Yeah,
I knew about performing because I've done it before, and we had a set list, right? We had, all right, we're gonna start off with this track, the low track, and then we're gonna end on this track. And then when we went and performed all that, I'm like, oh shit! Like you see how the crowd moved, and then I started thinking of, okay, time and sequence back again. If we could have did this song here, then you can see how, just like in a movie, you're taking people down an emotional roller coaster, and you want them to feel what you want them to feel intentionally. And just like that's the same shit with b-boying because y'all. I used to notice y'all when y'all do the nuts thing on people, and then
cock 'em, cock 'em.
yeah, and it's like, dude, you do that shit, and like sometimes that was the exclamation point at the end, and sometimes that was something in the middle. That was sometimes y'all was using that as a transition to get one of your, like, you know what I mean? And I'm like,
Yeah,
but that's deep. Now, when you was explaining the sentence in terms of a b-boy said, the thing that related to me was uh, when I started doing this music shit and I started being in film, I was like, okay, I want to learn how to make the trailer music. Trailer music, they call trailer music cues, and they say that the way you got to end cues is with an exclamation, is with a. You got to give the editor, like when you know how the whole signal flow shit works, you got to give the editor something to know that, hey, I can cut right here. So I used to end a lot of my cinematic cues with just like one loud just dong or something that's just gonna lead you to a climax, so that way they know that they can cut this minute and a half, because it was always like a minute and a half they only wanted for the demos. You give them a minute and a half. The shit starts off as one thing. It changes. Like when I started looking at directing and storytelling and screenwriting, they show you how you got first three acts, right? First, middle, first, second, and third act, and what happens at the end of Act One that leads you into Act Two, and what happens at the end of Act Two to lead you into Act Three, and then how you show the resolution. So the beginning, hey, we starting out the story. At the end of Act One, we got to change up the status quo. So if we're gonna start the story out with Ed, we're gonna say, hey, Ed is a music producer and he's working at Best Buy and he's b-boying, he's doing this, bop bop. And then at the end of Act One, going into Act Two, that's gonna lead you to whatever adventure you're finna go in. Ed has a baby. Boom, your whole status quo changes. You know what I'm saying? And then in Act Two, we're watching you live your life of being a father and going through all that. And then Act Three is something else changes to where now you've learned and you're a different person from Act One because the things that you went through in Act Two, and now we all get to experience the resolution of you learning, you becoming this new person, and you've grown because now we've grown with you through the story, and then when the movie leaves off, we either can leave it off or we can cliffhang you and all that. So when that's what that's what's a trip because you saying that the transitions and things like that is the things that you need to work on. But that's why I felt like that's what was dope when you sent me straight out. Because when you got it back and you was like, dude, you're thinking around transitions is crazy. And I'm like, all right, well, that's dope because this is the shit that I was learning to do with EDM. Because they tell you about like risers and downers and all this shit with that EMC course. And so I just used that knowledge, but now I'm doing it with all kind of beats instead of just EDM, you know?
yeah, yeah. That's yeah, you definitely hear it in your in your music, like especially yeah with straight out. We'll just talk about that one, and it's just like the thing I liked about it the most was that it was different from when I originally sent it to you. Like when I originally sent it to you, it was this whole different thing. Or it was just like the basic thing, right? It just drums and then
Drums in that one
and
synth sound.
the synth sound, yeah. And it was just warping the synth basically, or scratching the synth. And then you sent it back. It was like freaking deeper. It was deeper. The high ends were taken out a little bit, and then yeah, you added instruments in there, and you formatted it like you made it you put it in the song format. So because when I sent it to you, it was just a snippet. It was just like
It was just yeah.
it was just like bam right there. It was just like a thought, and then you're able to take that and make it into a whole like essay basically. So yeah, the transition. Yeah, see, then with the sentences thing, I think about paragraphs too, and I think about that. So, and that's what you did. Like I was reading, I was reading it that way, and then um, yeah, I mean, that's what I liked about it the most. And then I sent it back to you with my little edits at the end and like different. I turned down some certain things to my ear just to see what it's. Yeah, and turned up some things. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
for motherfuckers out there that ain't listen to our track straight out, fucking yeah, he sent it over with just the drums and that sound, and the way my mind worked off arrangement was like, okay, I do like I got my little Pharrell little intro that I do sometimes. You know what I mean? My little way I intro it in before I give you the beat. Cause like it was called straight out, and I'm like, oh damn, that's why you call it straight out, nigga. Cause as soon as I listen to it, I'm just straight into the beat. Like I'm like,
sometimes we just naming them random stuff. I look around, just like white wallpaper, or like like whatever,
so when I heard it, I'm like, okay. I'm like, and this was what I heard. We're gonna go back in the timeline.
Uh,
What you had this beat already made. You had the thought already made, right? It was already done. What at what point did you just randomly go, oh, let me send it to Tim?
Actually, we had just talked. I think we had just got we linked back up. After a long time since we haven't like talked to each other. But it was then I was like, like I was here like I'm in Texas, and there's no I don't have everybody's back home in California, so I'm just over here trying to work. And then I'm making beats. And I'm just like, I need to have other people to talk to, right? And then luckily we were able to link up like on Instagram or whatever. And then we were talking, and it's time. We always like to share our knowledge with each other all the time. So I was like, let me just send something to him. Like that's what I thought about. I just want to send something to you. And then I was like, I was going through the beats. And I was like, he would. I think I want to see what he would do with this. Like, I know you're into EDM. This has an EDM feel with like trap drums on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent it to you, and I was like, "Here, do it. Do whatever you want." Like, I think I said that too, right? So do whatever you want to this.
Yeah.
But I want to see what you can do with it.
Yeah.
And you did. And you did. It came out dope.
And that's the part, and like the part, I guess this is like a lesson for everybody that needs collaboration and be trying to wonder like, oh, who I should collaborate with, and they be trying to reach out to the top niggas and all that shit. But look across from you, nigga. The motherfuckers that's they
Yes.
running their own race, and they just right across from you. Cause when I released, I think it was July 10th, I released Mas Fuerte. And then you came out with We Already Knew, and I'm like, yeah. Then the other homie Jesse came out with his track, and I'm like, hold up, man. Like, I do know people that, because that's the thing. Like, when we started talking about that shit, and you was like, man, you want to make a podcast? And I was like, I know, man. This shit is so refreshing being able to talk to somebody, because it feels like you holding your breath throughout the
Yeah.
rest of life, because you know all this knowledge, but you can't speak it to nobody because they don't understand your language, you know? And I'm like, damn. And so when you sent it, I'm still customer service Tim and all that kind of shit. And so like, I want to cater. Hey, this your track, but let me. And that's why I was like, hey man, because I still don't got your number, man. Shoot me to that. But I was like, hey, call me that night, so then I could talk to you about it. I wanted to see your direction. I was going to cater it like I'm producing for you instead of producing with you. And
Right.
then when I sat there and I'm like, nigga, because I look at so many different videos, man, of all this shit about music and shit. And what they always said is when people invite you to their studio, they want to bring you to do you, not you to be them or a mini version of them. Like when they bring Scott Storch to the studio, they like, hey, be Scott Storch here. This is what we got. Do your Scott Storch thing. And I'm like, okay. So if he's gonna bring this to me, say do whatever you want, then what's the Boris the Beast thing on here? What's the thing that I do on here? And so I was like, that's why I was like, nah, man, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do our own thing. And I'm like, nigga, we got digital files. It ain't like we reeling this shit on tape and we paid $250 to get
Yeah.
and be like, dang, nigga, I fucked up your track, my bad. I'm like, if you don't like it, he just delete the shit. I'm like, just treat it like if I was gonna take, because back when I did that year of doing nothing but remix competitions taught me that all I got to do is just take a vocal and I won't listen to what the original track sound like. Just give me the vocal and I'm going to make a beat to this based off what makes me feel. I'm like, so I'm just going to do that. Hey, he got these drums and then the synth sound. I'm like, I'm not really feeling the way the synth sound is. He used this M rhythmizer to make it scratch. I'm like, okay, now I feel like motherfuckers is scratching. And then like that little it's that higher one. I'm like, because I'm all talking about this movie thoughts. Okay, let's build the movie. Let's give them a glimpse. Bam. Let's give them a glimpse, and then we drop in and be like, that's like the foreshadowing. It's like the way it starts out, hey, oh, this is what you're expecting to see. Then we drop everything down and start it out like this. And then I put in that arpeggiator. I'm like, this is some shit I would do. I like this arpeggiator. I put in these horns. Okay, I like this. I put in that damn flute, and I'm like, I fucks with it, but I want the flute to be in the background because I I just wanted to be an aesthetic, like a texture. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I sent it, and I'm like, man, see what he say. You don't like it, man, and shit. You know what I mean? But I brought your clap. I brought the hi hats in later. Like I brought, you know what I mean? And I took that woo, and I'm like, hey, I do like this little woo. So I'm like, oh, let me give it a woo over here. You know what I'm saying? Because then this woo's gonna lead us into what we about to do. So then I send it, and I'm like, man, if you don't like it, you can just delete it.
That's funny. Your mindset's like that. He's like, man, you know, if you don't like that, you know, whatever, you know, like whatever.
I gotta deal with the disappointment in advance, so that way it's not a big blow. If you can't, like, man, that shit was whack. I'm like, oh, nigga, damn.
You don't have to say all that.
You gotta do me like that, man. Come on, Craig. When you did come back, like, yo, and I was like, all right, he's not. This don't look like fake tech. You could tell motherfuckers being fake supportive, you know?
Yeah.
Just to say like, hey, good job, kind of shit. But you was like, genuinely like, yeah. And I'm like, he was like, man. And then there's the other part. I was like, okay, if this was me, once again, what did Brandon say? Oh, the bass line didn't change, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take his same bass sound, but I'm finna go and chop this bitch up and treat it like a sample now and give me my own little changes right here. Cause that way we got a difference from when we give you the bass in the beginning to now the bass is got something to lead you out to be like, all right, yeah, nigga, we morphed. And so when you go and you like, I like what you did with the bass. I'm like, yeah, nigga, I didn't know you gonna like it. Like nigga changing my bass line. I'm like, you know? So I took that and I extended it, and that's the way I used to like doing shit. It's like I give you something of a change up, and then you want more of it, you know? Because it's like, damn, nigga, it's ending already. And he's like, man, I extended that and I added my own ending to it. And I'm like, oh shit. So then when I hear it, I'm like, oh nigga, he did like that part, nigga. Because now it is extended. Now when I hear the flute, I'm like, oh nigga. He didn't let me be a bitch about that flute in the background. I think you pitched it a different way, and you brought it way up, and now it's in the front of the mix. And I'm like, oh shit. And then the way the arpeggiator come up, and I'm like, oh, nigga, we in there. Then when you add that last part, look, this is a perfect background for it. Because it felt like niggas was in NASA in the motherfucking astronaut suit. Because now it's like the end, like, I like horns because horns give you that majestic royal feel, you know? But that sound, I don't even know what kind of sound it is that you put in there, but that, like, it reminds me of like sci-fi, you know what I'm saying? That's what
it's,
it be.
What is that? Freaking damn, what the hell is it called? It's one of the isotope ones. The isotope synth. Iris 2. Iris 2 is one of those. I was using that on that one. And because I just had gotten it, and it was like $50 for the whole thing. I was like, what? I was like, what the hell? I'm getting this right now. I'm getting this right now. And then, so I got it. I was like, all right, cool. I was messing around with the bundle. I was like, oh shoot, Iris. Yeah, what's it called? I like that it was you in the beginning, and then I was like, all right, let me put me on there, and the ending is me. And I think both of us was in the middle. because I liked what you did in the middle. That's why I extended it, and the way that the drums were out, like uh, it was be something I would do. Like it was something that I guess I had approve of. In my head, I'm like, oh, this is dope. And the reason why I brought your flute up is because that that sticks out to me more because my ear is more like I don't want to say like a radio feel, but like I like I like the main. I don't want to say main. How do I say this? It's like, all right. So when you listen to when you listen to like an album, right? And there's the album cuts, like the B cuts, B sides, and then there's the the ones they're gonna hit.
You know this is gonna be a single kind of shit.
Yeah, that's how my mind is with a lot of the instruments, and I like to gravitate more to the ones that are gonna be hits. And I guess it's not a bad mindset if we're trying to make money. But yeah, I like B sides. Don't get me wrong, but like if it's a song like what we did, like if it's a song like that, I want people, I want more of the majority to like that, like to hear it and be like, yo, this shit is dope. Like this is it's out there, but it's there too. Like it's there. You know what I mean? Like I can fuck with this beat for sure. Like that's why I brought it up. I was like, oh, it stood out to me. I lowered one of them down a little bit. I kind of like switched the narrative. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then I added that one in the end. I made the woo woo. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man. So when you made that woo with the fucking reverb and the delay on that, like what do you remember prior to doing that? Because it's a process to make that shit happen.
Yeah.
Like what made you go, ooh, I should do this to it?
It just needed it. Like like it's just one of those things where you're just like, man, this needs to jump. Like it needs to pop. It's used as a transition. You used it as a transition. I was like, this seems flat. Like it doesn't take you to the next phase of the beat or the next storytelling of the beat, and it's just like woo woo. And when it hits you, like oh, and it changes, you like oh.
That's how I was, dude.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I was listening, and when I heard that part, because I had my headphones, and that shit went, I was like, oh, and that's why I was like, nigga,
you do some crazy.
That shit,
man.
Dude, for real, man. That shit, and it was needed, real shit, and that's why it was so organic, because it's like, damn. I'm like, yeah, I was using like the little fucking like the bass little kind of shit to get transitions to different parts in the story. And when you did that, I was like, oh nigga, yeah. Stamp. You talking about I'm like, nigga, I definitely didn't do that. I just took it in your hand and moved it. All right, hey. But when you did that, I'm like, yes, because now it differentiates. Like, it's kind of like that whole precursor shit again. It's like, hey, this little first move was like, y'all niggas don't know what you got coming, but you got some shit coming. And then when the next one comes, it's like, nigga, whoa. Yeah, man. Yes, so when... Ah,
good experience, man. It was a good experience.
It was, because that was the first time, like, and like I told you before, man, I did feel bad because I had sent you a track years back, and I never sent it back. Like you sent me the drums and shit back, but I never turned it into nothing. I think the track was called "My Whip Clean" though, or some shit like that.
I think I remember that. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Long time ago, and I never did what we did this time of the go back. Hey, tag you're it, you tag me back in, but I never tagged back. And so I'm like, man, I'm not gonna do that again, man. He sent me this for a reason, I'm gonna take whatever is in me to do. And like, man, when that shit fucking came through, and I'm like, ended it off, and then it's like you chopped up what the drum sounds was, and it's like it's enough because we leading out, but we still got elements to let you know, like, hey, nigga, you remember this part? Like, you did like it?
Yeah.
Don't, nigga. Sci-fi with it, like.
Yeah.
I still feel it's too short, like as far as like normal song standards go. But I feel that song is like a burst of energy. Like it's like hey, like. And that's what made me. I got probably like 12 bars to it so far.
You wrote to it?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Hey, send it over. Send it over, man.
And when I send it, like you gonna trip because I was rolling. I was out here, and I was going to one of these new dispensaries out here, and I'm like trying to figure out stuff. And like the thing that I used to trip off of, like when you watch Lil Wayne and anybody, it's like, oh, what music do you put on when you like driving on a date with somebody? He said, I mostly put on my music. You
Yeah,
know,
his own music.
yeah, it's gonna be something that they ain't never heard of and all that. And I'm like, damn, you're right. We don't make these songs because we think they whack. We don't release them because we think they whack. You feel what I'm
Right.
saying? So I'm like, okay. So I was bumping straight out. I still be bumping it. Like when you look at my Spotify, you see that it's right there. Yep, nigga, I can go listen to it right now because it's like I actually listen to it, you know. And I was bumping it while I was driving. Man, I used to tell my brother all the time, like, if you're a person that used to freestyle, it's good in your life to go back and just start freestyling again. Because just like how you said, like, you didn't pull two and two together about b-boying and making beats with the sentences and stuff until like some dust moved off the corridors of like, hey, sentence. Oh shit. The same thing with freestyling, like when you everybody that knows what I'm talking about, when you freestyle, you get into this point where it's just really the flow state where time don't exist. You start impressing yourself. You're freestyling and words are coming together that rhyme and shit and it's all making sense and you're kind of an observer, but you're the person doing it at the same time. Cause as you're saying the words, you like, oh shit, your brain's going, nigga, I said that? Oh shit, that shit did make sense. How come that stanza made sense on that? And when you freestyle, you get shit out of you that you didn't even know was in you. So I'm driving and I'm freestyling. I'm like, so I rewind it back. Because remember, it's short. I rewind it back. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
where the person come in? So I'm just flowing. And when I'm flowing, I'm coming up with all these different cadences. And I'm like, oh, nigga. That's when I text you. I'm like, man, I feel like I should just go off on that track. So then this was
Yeah.
this was the thing that back in the day, like when I was rapping, my cousin couldn't give me beats, and it's like, all right, where I'm gonna get the beats from? So now I started making the beats. And I'm like, all right. Everybody's problem is always one or the other. Either you know how to rap and you don't got no beats, or you got beats and you ain't got nobody to rap on. And I'm like, I retired from rapping because of the negative situation I had with my family. I just said, fuck this shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's why when I came back to EDM, I'm like, ooh, EDM. I ain't got to rap. I ain't got to sing. All I got to do is make beats. I can get yours to sing. Cool. But then I sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, nigga, ain't like I don't know how to rap. Ain't like I didn't, ain't like
Right.
ain't like I didn't sit there for 30 minutes, like, cause I didn't want to integrate with the rest of the school when I came to Victorville, cause I was very salty about coming from LA school. It felt like I
So,
was go to the desert, man. Like fuck. And so every lunch, 30 minutes straight, I would just freestyle. I'll bring my thesaurus, I'll find different words, and I'll just freestyle. And I'll read the dictionary, and I'm freestyling practice that I was doing every 30 minutes. And I was noticing that it took me less time to get to that flow state because I put in so much work exercising this muscle. So then I'm like, man, we don't need
right.
nobody to just come off on the track. And I know how I would come off on it. What's stopping me? I'm like, nigga, I got all the equipment. I can just go off. I know how to get.
Right. You got the tools.
I got all the tools, man. And you know, the realest shit that, well, it was yesterday when I seen it. But Curtis King made that post, man, talking about what DJ Head told him, talking about stop playing fair.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that hit me so hard because it's like it hit me on all levels because I'm like, fuck. Like when people ask about me or like what's my brand or what I stand for, I'm all about being right and doing right. I ain't trying to lie, I ain't trying to do nothing shady, nothing like that. And I've always tried to play fair. And I'm like, you know, I even disadvantage myself because I try to play fair. Like even in the aspect of like being this whole actor and like blowing up that way, I created another persona. I didn't want to blend. I didn't want to take the people that already like me because I'm Timoteo 86 and be like, hey, y'all, go follow me over here and shit. I didn't want to do all that because I felt that was an unfair advantage that I got rapport with people already. They like me and love me already because of my character and who I am. But if I take those
Yeah.
people and boost myself, then I'm not coming out organic and you know what I mean? And
Yeah. You set your limiters. You
dude,
set your limiters on yourself. Yeah. I have the same problem, man.
dude.
It's like why?
Exactly.
It's like,
He said
yeah. Why?
you building walls around yourself that nobody asked you to build. And I was like, nigga. I never even thought about that. Because it's all my own standard. Like even when in Street Fighter, like I've been playing the same main for a long time, and it's like other characters come out. And when he said that, because somebody said it the other day, they was like, man, Street Fighter is not meant to be fair. And I'm like, because we got some robbery characters in the game. And like, I'd
Right.
always try to be honorable and play my honest character and all this shit. But I'm going to be a competitor. And the other homie, the other day, the homie Realistic said, he's like, man, if you're choosing to play a character because you want to play them and they fun, it's cool. But if you know that you can choose another character and be better and you're competitive, and you still choose that other character? He said, you're dumb. And I was like, damn, nigga. I was like, damn, nigga, dumb? And he's like, yeah, because you're putting shackles on your own hands for no reason. Who told you that you got to stay with that character? If this is going to give you, you're supposed to choose the best character that's going to give you the best opportunity to win. And if you know you can do that, then why not do that? Damn. So even just like with knowing how to rap and knowing how to do the video shit, and know how to do the game and shit. I never thought about, cause look at this shit, man. Cover art, right? I'm like,
Right.
what do rappers say? Oh man, I don't know how to make an electronic press kit, but you need cover art. You need good ass photos from a good ass camera. You need them photos edited. I took my photo camera class at Rancho. Chafee, shout out to Chafee. But I went through all this shit and I got all this knowledge, but I never thought about combining it because I felt that was an unfair advantage. And I'm like, nigga. Like, even just knowing Geek Squad shit, and like when it comes to all this software, I'm like, I don't use that to my advantage. I use that to play on the same playing field as everybody else. But everybody else ain't on the same playing field.
Nope. Sure not. And there's different tiers to that motherfucker too.
Facts, facts. So how do you limit yourself?
Real quick, on Street Fighter, is it still a thing to not throw people?
Oh shit!
I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, that's funny, man. I mean, you know, old school arcade days right there, man.
Yeah, is it still a thing?
Nah. They left that back in the '90s, man. But that was a thing.
That was a thing.
You could throw people now. They took out throw loops, but back when we had throw loops, nigga, woo, motherfuckers was mad, boy. Because you still had old school niggas like me coming in the game like, nigga, what the fuck is this? Like,
let me go. Yeah. No, yeah. All right, so my bad. What was the question? I know this has been buying things in my head.
I got you. How do you limit yourself? What do you feel that, because like, you got two online personas too, you know what I mean? You Ed and you NappooBeats. And it's like, I don't see you promoting NappooBeats on Ed, you know, even though you got more reach. I don't see, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you went to Art Institute, you know b-boying, you know product design, Poo Pouch, shout out to Poo Pouch.
Shout out to Poo Pouch.
Right. And you know about the whole design. You've seen it from the ground up. The whole fabric purchasing, like that's all things that is specialized knowledge. It's not something your normal person would know. But you don't take. I'm asking you, how do you feel that you put limiters on yourself?
Okay. Yeah, same way. I mean, I haven't thought about combining my, accounts just because I have more reach that way. But in my head, I thought about the same thing. Like, I want my music to be my music, and then I don't want people to like my music just because they're my friend. Like in real life, because most of the people on my personal accounts, like people I know personally, and not from music, but from just personal life stuff. So I was like, if they're gonna like my music, I want to have the page, and they'll be able to do that instead of getting flooded. Because I hate it when they'll flood their whole timeline with their music, and I don't like their music. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to see that, and for whatever choice I have, I see it on their story the whole time. I'm like, nah, like I'm just gonna unfollow you now. Like,
right?
And I don't. Yeah, and then if people want to know about it, like I'll post like one or two on my main page, just letting them know that I still do music and that I still, I'm there still, and it's not like a hobby thing for me or a hobby-ish, you know what I mean? And yeah, in other ways, it's just like not putting out music because I don't think it's ready for it to be heard. And then I just leave it. That's limiting. That's unbeneficial. That's a negative out. Like every producer does it. I know that for a damn fact.
100%, 1,000% fact.
Yeah, and that's not even with music too. It's every artist, I should say. Because some people I know people that draw and stuff. They don't put it out. they just do it. Like, why? Like, you're dope. Like, just put it out. As I'm getting better with that. Us doing this platform, like, how are they going to hear us if they don't even know us? You know what I mean? Or how are they going to know us if they don't hear us?
Right.
So we just got to, show our faces and everybody's faces. You know what I mean? And what else? Like, I guess there's a lot more, but it all stems from that. Like, just inside, like, your own thoughts, your own limitations is your own thoughts, because that's who fights you the whole time. They say get out of your own way or whatever.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm like, man, get out the way. Like, let me just do this before, because I think the person that's in your way is everybody. That's everybody's perception of what they think about you or of what they expect. So your inner thoughts, your conscience, man, that's just an epiphany right now. Your conscience is everybody's thoughts of what you think everybody's thoughts are.
Mm. Mm.
And I ain't gonna bill everybody for that. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's just like, and that's a fact too. Like, where do you even get your thoughts from? You get it from other people that you're around, and it's not just your own, because your own is your own, and you want to do your own thing. And everybody else, you think about what they would like. I mean, it's okay to think about what they want. If you want to play to your demographic, but like you were saying, your demographic is you. So why would you get in your own way of that? It's just
bars,
like, dang.
Bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and that's the funny part, because I just read that. Wow, man, I'm a motherfucking dumbass. I bought the damn book in Google Play, the Rust book, Get Out of Your Way.
Oh, okay.
And like, I'm sitting there, oh man. Then I clicked on something and I was like, oh shit, there's an audio book for this shit. He's in his own voice. I'm like, dumbass. So I bought the damn book for $13.99. And then
you can follow along.
Yeah.
Just follow along, yeah.
I bought the audio book for $17.99. So I ended up paying like 30 something bucks for this book. I should have just bought the audio book, but I wasn't thinking. And because I'm like, dude, I could do other shit. I could clean up, I could make something, I could do something while I'm listening versus if I gotta sit there and read. So
Yeah.
But the reason what made me do it because like back when I was at the crib, what's it called? His brother, he asked me because I was showing him beats. Because at first when I moved over there, she was helping me out and shit, and I had brought my laptop. Because if I'm just gonna leave, boom, I just got my laptop and a MIDI keyboard, the Air one, 32 key.
No, the Mini 32, yeah. I got that. Yeah, it's good.
They're chilling. So I had grabbed that, and like I had these tracks. I already had the Dark Days album made. I already had the songs done, and I just knew certain songs out there. Like there's this track called Light Years that's dope as fuck. And so I'm in the room. She's like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "I'm being here listening to music." She's like, "You want some company?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." So then her brother rolls through and his son. So the nephew come through and then it's her daughter. So they all come in the room and we bumping and they like, "What you listen to?" I'm like, "This is a song I made." They're like, "You made this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, and then now the reaction go. You're like, "Oh,
yeah.
This is finally a positive reaction because I know the song is dope, but everybody ain't probably." So then he's like, "Hey man, like I rap." And I'm like, "For real?" And he's like showing me his raps and shit. He was like, "Yeah, he had bought some songs off of maybe BeatStars. He bought tracks. He had spent like $200 worth for 3 tracks." And he was like, "Man, but the song you playing right here is way better than all 3 tracks I bought." I'm like, "Yeah, right, man. Like, you thinking motherfuckers is blowing you up." So after that, we chopped it up. He started spitting to it, and he kept saying like, "Man, let me get that track. Let me get that track." I'm like, "Nah, man, it's going on my album, man. Like, come on." So then
You got paid for it. You got paid for it.
Got paid for it.
At least
Non-exclusive.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm down there chopping it up with him, and this was after you made was it Sneaks?
Sneaks, probably. That's the only one I had, right?
I think it was Sneaks, and I had freestyle to you and sent that to you.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So then I was down there freestyling with him, and I still used one of the same lines from the freestyle, but it was still in a whole nother freestyle because I was liking the beat so much. And after that, he was like, "Dang man, like you know how to rap too?" And I'm like, "Yeah," like
it's a thing.
It's
like
I used to do. Like I don't do it no more really, but when I heard this track, it just made me want to rap. And like that's what I noticed. Like certain tracks, when you got something in you, it make you either want to sing or make you want to rap because the track is bringing that out of you.
Right.
Something about this track just made me want to freestyle. I was already proud of Ed still making music. I like when I see homies, because you do like. I wasn't even following NappooBeats on Instagram, and
Mm-hmm.
I did something to show it through Ed, and I'm like, oh, this nigga still making music. I'm like, damn, this shit is dope, because it made me think back to the 40 days and the 45 days of beats baking, and I'm like, damn, canvas print, and I'm like, this nigga still doing it, and this shit sound better. I'm like, it's dope when you can see somebody journey and you can hear that they're better, not just see that they're better, you know? And he's telling me like, dang man, you know how to rap. And I'm like, yeah. And I released one song. Like, this is where I was singing on it. And I was like, I just wanted to be able to take a song all the way to the end, so where I can see that it happened. Like, Bright Smile was a track I created in Van Nuys. I had made the beat, and I'm like, man, I had just finished reading. I had got these two books by this attorney. It's called like Start Your Music Business and Run Your Music Business. And in
Mm-hmm.
that book, it show you all the copyright law shit, like everything you need to do. So I made my label, went paid the 600 with BMI, did the DBA and put that shit in the newspaper for fucking 6 weeks. I did all this whole shit and like
Damn.
got the orders of incorporation back, everything, LLC, and I'm like, oh fuck, I've done it. And I'm like, what's gonna be the first song I release? If I did all the shit, and I'm like, well, let me do a song that I don't cuss in, so my mama could listen to it, you know.
Right.
So I did it, boom, boom, and I'm not proud of it. Like I'm proud of it that I did something. I'm just not proud of like when you better, that you could do different shit to it, of course. And
Right.
like, and I don't think I even put drums in there. I think I just got like a snare or some shit. But after that, then he's talking to me. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, dang, so you got this track that you put out that you sing, you know how to rap, and you know how to make the beats?
Yeah.
He's
He's just like,
yeah. That's how he looking at me. That's how he looking at me. He like, dude, like, what the fuck you waiting on? I'm like, I don't really like putting my shit out. He's like, dude. He's like, man, have you ever heard of Russ? I'm like, yeah. The only reason why I heard of Russ is because I was listening to Blap Chat with Illmind. I was following a lot of Illmind shit because he resonated with me. He was a person that was in the industry, got the accolades, but he still was kicking that real shit that other like industry folks don't be kicking that real shit. They kick that real shit because they want to incentivize them getting paid off you some kind of way. But he's
right.
like, nah, dude, I want you to win too. Let me just give you the knowledge. And so he was like, oh, y'all should just try the Rush strategy where he was just releasing songs every Friday, blah, blah, blah. So then when he asked me, and I was like, man, you know about rest? And I'm like, but I thought you're into music. I'm like, I'm into music, but I listen to what I listen to. Like, I don't listen to like all that new shit because like I just clumped
Right.
all the new shit into one category. All this mumble shit, fuck it, I don't listen to it. So then he's like, nah, dude, you should look up Russ. And I'm like, for real? He's like, yeah. So then after I look up Russ, and I'm like, then Illmind all of a sudden, yeah, man, Russ strategy, Russ strategy. I'm like, fuck, all right, so maybe. Back when I was doing the remixes, I was releasing the track once a week. So I
Mhm.
know I can do it. I'm like, but I wasn't putting my own vocals. I was just making a beat and rearranging a remix. So then I'm sitting there, like nowadays, and I'm especially nowadays, because when I look around, dude, I got all the fucking equipment, even this fucking green screen behind me. I'm like, dude, what are you waiting on? That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. What are you waiting on? It's like, and when I was showing her the track, she was like, we were down there smoking. She so Tim, even it's not even done. I didn't even arrange it. I just got the 16 bar loop, and y'all like
Right.
that part. And she's like, that's a song that I would actually bump like in my car, like for real, even with no words on it. And I'm like, damn, you serious? She's like, yeah, just put it out. And in my mind, I'm like, nah, girl, I gotta put it out a certain kind of way. You know what I mean? But at the end of
Right.
the day, the whole point is putting it out. Just like you said earlier, it's like, dude, I'm cool with doing this as long as we keep doing it. And I'm like, nigga, this shit is therapeutic for me because we talking out loud about the shit that normally if I'm just sitting there in front of that laptop making beats and shit, everything is just all going in my head. So to
They
be able to say this,
internalized.
yeah, we externalizing this shit, and people gonna feel us because this is our true core of what the fuck we've been feeling, and everybody like, yeah, nigga, I felt that too. And so the thing I realized though was I was making tracks. You remember Nate from
Yeah.
yeah. So Nate was making
What's up,
beats
Nate?
too. Right? Motherfucking Nate, aka Zonex. Uh,
Zonex.
yeah,
I'm, I'm gonna add you.
For real. But he was another person that I feel is talented. He knew how to do the production. This fool had bought a new Mac. I went over to his crib. He showed me his new Mac laptop. Because back when we was using Logic, when your laptop is old, I got a 2008 Mac before this one, and you have to freeze the track so that way you can be able to hear the playback without it stopping, because it'll always hit you with that overload damn
Yeah.
symbol.
Yep.
And so that shit took my production process long as fuck because I had to make a track. And if I wanted to mix it, I gotta freeze it so I can hear it and be like, all right, turn this up, turn this down, and then I do that. But I can't play it back and hear it like that. I gotta, and then freeze it all again and do it. And I'm like, fuck, dude. So he had put out one track, and I was like, dude, this shit sound good. And he was like, yeah. So then I found, I think it was Track Source. I found Track Source through crazy situation. Bars, what's his name? Bars. Lars Barenroth, yeah, Germany, a producer from Germany, producer slash DJ from Germany that I met doing installs.
Oh wow.
Crazy,
Okay. That's
crazy.
dope.
You got this dope ass crib over there by Torrance, but he was giving me game. I was like, I seen all his crates and shit, and I'm like, damn nigga, like, and he was like, oh man, yeah, I do this. This is what I do. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, as long as you know signal flow, you got a bright future. I'm like, Signal Flow? He was like, yeah. I'm like, well, we do Signal Flow because we're doing home theater and all this shit. So, of course, I know Signal Flow. He's like, yeah, but that's going to be your plugins and, like, you know, your master
Yep.
bus, like that kind of Signal Flow. Ah, same shit, just different. It's just different viewpoint.
Yep.
And so, when I showed him one of my tracks on there, it's like this Woody Woodpecker track I made. And he just started laughing. He wasn't laughing like, he was laughing like, all right, this shit is, I see what you're trying to do, you know? And then, but instead of focusing on like this shit is non-listenable. This ain't no listenable track, like, you know. But all he did was say this. He said, "Oh, I used to use those chords when I started making house too." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah," you know. But then he gave
Yeah.
me all this game. He was like, "Man," he was like, "the way I got," because he got a podcast called Deeper Shades of House, man. Shout out to that fool. He was like, "Man, uh, I'm gonna give you the game." He had gave me we exchanged emails. It's like I'm gonna give you all anything you want to know. I give you the game. But if you want to do a podcast, learn it like this because the way I do it is because I learned the fucked up way, just learning how to do shit. But this
Right.
guy right here tells you how to do it straight up, and it was Pat Flynn. So I watched all videos on how to do the podcast shit and learn all that, and I'm like, damn nigga, that's why I was gonna make my DJ thing. And like none of this shit ever came to fruition because I'll make sample DJ things and I want to make it perfect and all this shit. Then when it came down to it was Gary V, where you gonna say document instead of create, because I used to sit there like wondering what I'm gonna create for an Instagram post, what I'm gonna create, and he was like, man, if you just change it to document instead of create, you're not forcing nothing. You're just documenting what the fuck you're already doing anyway. And people gonna take they're joining the journey of just you documenting the shit. I'm like, all right. That's when I went on that one part where 5 days a week I would post a video of whatever beats I made five
All
days a
right.
week, and I created a whole little like theme to each day. Boom, 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 boom. So I make a beat because I went on this thing where I wanted to make a beat for 90 days straight. I wanted to make a different track 90 days straight, and I did it. I marked it off on the calendar and everything. Because Jerry Springer said like write a joke a day and mark it off on the calendar, and then he said don't break the chain. I always felt that was
Okay.
dope. So like, boom, just be consistent. Okay. I made a beat today, and I can make a beat tomorrow, and I maybe, and then now it becomes habit, and now I can make more than one beat in a day. And now, like you know, and
Yeah.
so when I was doing that shit, I don't even know why I started talking about that. This is why you're here, man. Cause shit, man, I just be lost in my motherfucking shit when I start talking about
No, it's all good. I'm over here taking in your experience. But you talking about with the podcast, like you were learning from the podcast and all the things he was
oh
teaching
Lars
you.
Barrenroth, boom, boom, boom. So
Yeah.
yeah, when I was making the beats, I was like, okay, if I'm making remixes of my favorite tracks or these tracks from remix competitions, then this is the way I can lead these into my DJ sets because now it's my track. Now I'm dropping my remix of this shit. You know, people
Right.
have VIP, you know what I'm saying? Now it's a song you already know and love, but now it's Boris the Beast, you know what I'm saying? So I started doing that shit, and then even last night I was testing out getting my shit right, cause you know when we got this motherfucking bitch.
Hi, Rick.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But the damn shit only comes with USB C, Lightning, and USB A. And I waited on Amazon. I bought me a USB A to micro USB fucking adapter and shit. Even OTG and all this shit, but it didn't work last night. I was so pissed off because I've been
Uh,
waiting, man. Don't you hate when you wait for some shit in the mail and then it don't work still? And I'm like, damn, nigga. So
man, my brother got that Roland. The Roland. What's it called? The one for the phone too to stream
it's like
to
white.
go live. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He bought that like in the early times of COVID, like in the early like February or whatever. Just got it like last week.
What the fuck?
He's like, man, he's like, I'm not even inspired anymore.
Damn.
Because he has like a little Vestax, the turntable, the little controller, and he like I gotta give it to him. He knows music. Like he can put songs together. So, but when he had it, I was like, oh, dope. Now you can go live. You can go live. And he was testing it out, but I still haven't seen it yet. So I'm gonna push him like, hey, was your set list that?
Yeah.
You better go versus with me on my.
Yeah.
I'm dope, but
dude, that's
yeah.
dope. So see, yeah, the family's musically inclined, man. That's dope. Yeah, man. Last night I ordered this other piece. They said it shipped today, so we'll see that in the next 4 days. But like
Right.
until then, my iPad. I just got to sign in on my iPad. I got it working last night on my iPad. I'm like,
Oh,
but I don't got no damn like I got this whole official ring light and all this shit. It ain't fit to take an iPad, so I'm gonna make some shit out of a box today. But
oh, nice. Yeah, do it. That sounds good. Yeah, you got you.
cause and that's what I tripped off of. Is like I went live in my name Boris thing, and then Steve jumped in there, Thomas, Machete, they all jumped in, and I'm like, nah, nigga, don't watch, nigga, I'm testing shit, like,
Well, what's he doing? But that's good too, though. They get to see what you're doing. You know that it's not all what smoke and mirrors or whatever. Like this shit takes work. Just like this podcast took like an hour just for us to freaking set the shit up. I'll go back to it. I'll keep saying it because yeah, that's the life of like the engineer and shit. Something's gonna go wrong, and you just fix whatever is wrong. And if that's happens like 80% of the time, 80% problems, 20% not
production.
problems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's not production. It's not problems.
Problems, yeah, that's true. That's true. Cause dude, like last night,
That's
right?
funny.
Like I've been prepared for this shit. Cause I was like, the shit came in yesterday, so I tried to get that shit. It wasn't working, and I'm like, all right, well, let me make sure I get enough sleep. Cause we gave it time. I ain't gonna miss this shit. Fuck that. And then I'm like, well, hold up though. Like, what the fuck I'm gonna send it to? So last night I downloaded some webcam overlay shit. That's where this shit came from.
Okay.
Um, and then like I'm like, all right, and I'm just gonna set everything up in the morning. So now I wake up. I woke up like 6. Took my damn. I got some different antibiotics, man. I've been dealing with this shit, and that's the thing. I'm like, even though I'm going through this health shit, I'm still not letting that shit stop me from doing this shit. Cause
That's
dealing with this
good,
pain
man.
in my kidneys and shit, like I could be focused on that, or I could just be focused on what we doing. Cause this shit, it just feels like this physical ailment I'm dealing with is the last straw of like something trying to pull me back from doing what we supposed to be doing. And if I get past that, then we're gonna get past everything. And so I'm sitting here this morning. I'm like, well, how do I do this shit? Because I never did a Zoom call. This is my first Zoom call, you know? And I'm like, nigga, I did the whole forgot my password and all this shit today, you know what I'm saying? And then like not being able to get the shit on the screen. I don't understand that part, but I'm like, nigga, once again, mindset. I'm like, if I put the shit maximize on my second audio on second monitor, and then I can create that source and duplicate it, but not make it be the same source. It's two different sources, but it's the same source. And crop you out, boom, and crop me out,
Yeah.
boom. Like this should have been all happening right here. And I'm like, oh, what about our names? Like I be seeing when people do the shit, they got the little ad on the shit. You know what I mean? I'm like, hold up. So then I went and I'm like, I went back to that webpage where I created the logo, and I got those fonts, and I put our names in those fonts, so that way it can still be consistent with the shit. And I'm like, yeah. But yeah, it did take an hour for this shit. I'm like, nigga, we going
No,
on
that was good though. See, even that now we can go back and with our tools we know Creative Cloud, so you know what I mean. We can go in and just start making the shit look even better for your viewing pleasure and shit. you, know?
Facts, nigga. Because
You know what I'm saying?
now that we got this little live screen, like we can create a little, whatever the shit is, man. But I feel the thing that I noticed was because we were gonna go back to Xanax for a second. Is that after I put out Bright Smile, this is what he told me. Because I'm just like how you said the proof is in the pudding. That was back when I was Snapchatting all the time. Like
Mm.
I was showing Snapchat of me buying the BMI, that damn $600. Fucking, because you remember you talking about spending when you nigga spending money on a publishing
Yeah.
company. You like fuck. It ain't like you get something that's like, hey, here's your publishing company. It's like you buy it and it's like, all right, you look around like, nigga, I don't got nothing in my hand. I just spent $600. Like you know, fuck. But he saw me when I was submitted Bryce Smile to Pandora, and he told me he was like, we was out at somebody's like going away or drinking something. We was at a bar, and he was like, man, you been inspiring me. I'm like, for real? He's like, dude, I see you being serious. He's like, you put the song out. It's on Spotify. It's on iTunes. He's like, he was the first person that bought it. Shout out to Nate and Heather. They both bought Bryce, man. First
Shout
two
out to them.
purchases, you know? And then he was like, you be inspiring me because he's like, I just make my shit and I don't never put it out. But I see you. You're putting it on Pandora. You're putting it out. You're promoting it. You're doing that. And I'm like, nigga, I'm barely doing it. Compared to what we used to do for motherfucking Lopez, nigga, like I'm barely doing what I know how I can do. Because
Yeah.
we took that nigga shit to a whole nother level. And it's like, okay, if he says that he draws inspiration from seeing me put out shit, and I draw inspiration from seeing my homies put out shit, and I know my homies do shit, but they ain't putting out shit. If I put out shit, it's gonna be like. So then when Jesse came out of nowhere and was like, man, he inspired me to come back out of retirement. I was like, oh yeah, that's dope because it's like we got these talents, but even the reason why I stopped playing video games, I stopped playing video games for I don't know how long, and it was always going off of other people's perception. Oh, you're too
Yeah.
old to be a gamer. Oh, they don't. And then when I learned Sonic Fox won 60,000 off one damn tournament, I'm like, nigga, you mean tell
It
me?
don't matter how old you are. I'm gonna give me this money.
If
Gonna let some kid.
you play this game and you get 60 G's, nigga, what you gonna say? I'm like, nigga, I know what it's like working my ass off for 60 G's a year. But you mean to tell me I'm playing games for 60 G's in one tournament, not a year? Get the fuck out of here. Hell yeah, dude. Like all the shit that I let other people make me believe that I couldn't live a lifestyle off of, everybody else didn't listen to them and they're living that lifestyle I could have been living. So I'm playing catch up, and it's like I'm not gonna let the age thing be like, oh, well, I'm gonna, oh, you're too old. Like that post you made yesterday, which was dope. You're not too old. You're not too late. You're not. And I'm like, that's real shit. Because if we let everybody else tell it, oh, we're too old to be making music, or oh, like you know what I'm saying? You're too old to be a b-boy. Like nigga, what the fuck? I can
Yeah.
show you. I can show you dancers that are millionaires because they're dancers. You know, they're millionaires because they're dancers, and influencers because they're dancing, because they've been consistent and showing people their growth, and then they dope at it because they practice their craft. So it's like, man, at the end of the day, I just realized like all this shit. That's why I was trying to tell you that time, and when we first started talking, what my niche was, and I'm like, nigga, I didn't want to just tell you because you know it's your own self discovery, but I'm like, dude, just look at all the equipment you have, and look at the way your life has transpired. Right? For real, you know? I'm like,
Yeah. Look at my mixing board over there and my green exit light.
green extra light, your motherfucking racks over there on the bottom. Look at them racks. Look at them racks.
Hey man, and for those that you don't know, this isn't real. I don't know if you can tell.
Right? I don't know, man.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm looking at the earth. I'm really up here with no motherfucking astronaut suit on. I'm really out here.
I'm faking the fuck. Hey, fake it till you make it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, but no, when I said that shit, I was like, dude, think about all the equipment that you got. And like for me, I was like, dude, my quarantine purchases have all been music shit. I bought that Isotope $50 deal, and that's what was so funny is that I'm like, I'm telling you about, oh yeah, I bought this Isotope deal, and you like, yeah, I bought it too. And I'm like, oh, that's ironic as fuck, because I was using that Iris too as well, nigga. But I the RX-7, and if you can get I got the RX-7 instead of paying $500, you I just use that $50 thing to buy because I need shit in there anyway, and then I could buy the RX-7 as an upgrade because I have another Isotope product already. I'm like, nigga. So that's why I ended up with that. Then I'm like, I was just looking at it like, okay, what's all my excuses? Like this year has made me just go, no excuses, no procrastination. What's my excuse? My excuse of not releasing Dark Days, I was gonna release it last October, October 2019. And the shit is material from Van Nuys in 2015, 16, right? That's
Dang.
when I went through that whole depression spout. And I've been
I
apprehensive.
went to that apartment one time, right? That's the one. I visited you over there one time.
For real?
I did. I did. Yeah, I visited you one time. I was in Burbank, and I was like, "Yo, Tim, what you doing?" And I went over one time, and you.
Damn.
That was a long time ago. Yeah, it was like wood on the walls, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Crazy, man.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was there.
Cause I remember I went to you. I didn't know you came over to the crib though. I
That
remember.
was years after. Yeah, that was years after though.
Damn.
Yeah, once.
So yeah, man.
Oh
From
yeah,
that
my bad.
time,
Go ahead.
yeah, nah, I was making the shit. And back when what's it called was telling me, "I'll put the shit out, put the shit out." Like I, after I looked at Illmind and he was like, "Oh," he said like, "Oh, just push shit out, just push shit out." And then he was like, "Just do the Friday method, and then just make micro content that leads to your Friday release each week. You got an album, say you got 9 songs, I got 9 songs. Uh, just go Monday through Friday and talk about what the main subject is going to be with that thing, and then release the song on Fridays." And I'm like, fuck. So I was planning to do it, but even when I first started the whole Boris the Beast thing, I was just wearing a fucking Darth Vader mask because I didn't want to show my face. I was going to be Dead Mouse and Daft Punk with it. Because after I've
Yeah,
been around all these famous people, I noticed what it's like being around famous people. And I was like, nigga, I'm a private person. I don't really want to be like that. You know what I mean?
right.
But the only way this shit really was gonna blow up is if we just be ourselves on some realest shit possible. Realest of real. And I was like, man, and I still haven't put the shit out. I've released Chill Hop, I released My Suerte still before this damn album because I'm grown past it now because I went through some when I was in that depression, homie, when I was dealing with this fucking neck pain, it was the whole point was like, fuck, you don't even get a break. You know, that's the part that fucked me up, and that's why I started thinking them stupid ass thoughts. Because it's like, well, if I just do that, then I'll take away all the pain. It's like, yeah, nigga, but you're gonna get way more pain than everybody that you know because you did some old dumb shit. You tried to what? You try to solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution. I'm like, man, music got me through. So since the music got me through, and this is what I created, the music created a way for me to get out. Then if I share my story and walk back down that path and say, I don't know what niggas is going through the shit that I was going through, feeling alone, feeling nobody understands you, you got, because ain't like you talk to a lot of people, oh, I deal with chronic pain. Chronic pain, and you hear chronic smoke, not chronic pain. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dealing with that, I found some motherfuckers off Instagram. I found some groups and shit like that. So I follow people that got chronic pain too, and I try to big them up and give them the words of encouragement that I wish I would have had. You know, that's the whole thing with people who go through pain and try to help people is that you try to not let people get the same pain that you felt.
Yeah, because
And
it's nothing to joke with. Yeah, for sure.
fact. So I just didn't want to be that vulnerable online, but I'm doing it right now. That's what the fuck we're doing. And if it's gonna be able to help somebody not do the stupid shit that I didn't do and make them not do it too, you know, then
Yeah.
we get something right. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And even though I want to go back and change them tracks and make them sound aesthetically better and arrange them different and shit, they sound the way they sounded because that's what I was feeling. And I feel
Right.
it does need to be just that organic shit. Hey, this is where I was at. You're gonna hear the confusion. You're gonna hear the frustration. You're gonna feel the loneliness. You're gonna feel all that within the songs because this is all the emotion that was coming out. The shit got to come out of you some way, whether you speak it or play it out. It got to come out of you. So I'm like, all right,
Right. It was like how in the Timberland book where he was saying they're making beat that like after like Aaliyah passed away, and he was like talking about how he how those tracks that he made, like with Jay Z, how he went back, he was like, "Oh, I can't believe I said it." Like on Big Pimpin', he was just like, he's like, I can't. He's like, I don't. He's like, I can't believe I said that stuff. He's like, it's kind of like cringeworthy, but they're like stamps in time where they exactly like how you felt, and just it's capturing that moment, and then that moment's gone, and now you have something to look back on, and how kind of like memories. So you capture. That's what a song is what he was saying. He was saying it's what a song is capturing that moment and documenting it.
Mm.
so you know how you felt, how what your creative process and all this stuff was. So it's like the same thing. That's dope. That's dope that you have that. That you have an album to look back on,
Mm.
and kind of helps you remind you about that kind of thing too, like where you're from,
Yeah, yeah.
where you came from,
Where I
or
came from.
yeah, like a
So
stepping stone.
this was what the main reason why I wanted to make sure we did this was I look at this as an accountability thing. Like what we the last notes that we did last time when we talked in, it's like okay, what we learned, what we want to learn, what we're working on, all that. So it's dope. We've weeks past that time. I seen we got a first chop section up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I still got to
Right.
drop my fucking shit. I've uploaded it to YouTube, but I haven't made it. I haven't published. You know,
Bullshit. Okay.
my first cook up session. But I like those. How often you plan on doing those?
I want to do at least once a week.
Okay,
I was gonna record one. Hopefully, I will release it every Wednesday.
Wednesday's the
Uh,
day.
hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, I mean not hopefully. Either Wednesday or Friday. It just depends on how I feel about it. I think I have more time in the day to do it in the like on Mondays. Try to like record it on Mondays. Get it. Get everything like cut, not cut, but like everything edited to where I can post it and people see it on Wednesdays. The lead up to it, the rollout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I like your version. Because like I was looking at our shit side by side in a sense. Like I put my little snippet up, and you cut yours way better. Obviously, my resolution was fucked up. I was like, I did that damn 640, and I'm like, nigga, I got a phone that do 1080p. You don't think everybody else got 1080p too, nigga?
Right in the pocket. Right in the pocket.
And I'm like, oh shit. But when I looked at yours, I'm like, nigga, this shit's clean. You put in that little other gift right there, and I'm like, damn, this shit is dope. You know what I mean? And you cut it out to where we get a glimpse of what we're gonna expect. And I think it was like 48 minutes, 50, 49 minutes on the actual YouTube video. And I'm like,
Yeah, the process.
only thing.
Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, he did it. And I wanted to make sure I asked you so I could hold you accountable of okay. So it's
Yeah,
either
please.
Wednesday. Yeah, because at the end of the day, all we got to do is just keep putting shit out. Real
Right.
shit. It's,
This will be our accountability.
this is our accountability.
Like, and for those who are listening too, like this is your accountability too. Or try to find it so you can. We want to hear what you guys got to put out. Like, we want to hear that. The world wants. I mean, the world wants to hear it. You just don't know that yet because you're gonna. That's your niche, right? They want to hear it.
They
Like
want to hear.
they want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear. I want to hear what I like. I don't want to hear the same stuff over and over again.
For
Got to
real.
hear individuals.
For real. And that bounce, man. That motherfucking bounce on that motherfucker, boy. I'm like,
Thanks, man.
For real though, man. And so, um, when did I put out Chill Hot? I think I put that shit up 2 Friday or last Friday. Um, but yeah, that was the thing. Oh, so back when you were saying catching moments in time, that was what led me to. Remember, I was telling you about Dead Mouse, where you could see where he gets the vocals from the Veiled, and that moment of that initial reaction of, damn, I ain't never heard this before. This dude put his own shit on here, and I fucks with this. He's like, I'm gonna change these little parts, but overall, I fuck with it. We'll give you the publishing. All like he did that shit right there. It was all visual. You could see it happen. And then it reminded me of those times where I used to watch Kanye in the studio, or Pharrell in the studio, or Ryan Leslie.
Ryan Leslie. Yeah.
know?
I used to love them videos, man. I would watch them over and over again. Ryan Leslie freaking ordering the little that shit. I was like, and he'll be banging the drum. I used to rewatch those all the time. I was like, man, just sit there like, that's dope. I wish I could do that.
Look.
And I can. Like, I got a drum in the garage. Shit. Yeah, but my bad. Keep going.
No. That's it. That's the whole thing. Like I was watching this dude, Entrepreneur on Fire, and one time he said when you want to go make your own podcast and shit, he said you got to shift your focus from being. It was like 80-20 rule, right? The Pareto principle, 80-20. Instead of being a person that consumes content 80% of the time, and you only produce content 20% of the time, switch it around. Produce content 80% of the time and only consume content 20% of the time. Because most of the time we're on the sideline watching somebody else. Like, oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, damn, that's dope that they do that and all that. And it's like, you look around at your damn equipment, nigga. Nigga, I can do the same shit. I can do the same shit.
That's the regular people. It's crazy when like when you hear like regular not like regular people, but people that don't do things like this. They go, they work their job, they come home, they watch TV, and then they see somebody like us where we have all this stuff. They're like, what? Like you make music? And it's just so like it's like foreign to them. I was like, yeah, and then to us it's not because we're just like, yeah, we do it, and it's just like, yeah, like we do all that. I got lights for cameras, like I got all this shit, like all this stuff, this whole production setup, like. And it's just like
a whole ass
I literally have a home studio and I got a mic. I got a
studio.
Bro, I got a mic locker. Like who has a fucking mic locker? You know, like there's a mic locker. Got that, I got my own logos and stuff. Like, man, I really do have all this stuff. I'm not doing as much as I want to. I need that 80-20 for sure. Like that needs to happen. Because for damn sure I'd be consuming a lot more than I could.
You know what I'm saying? I know, because I'm still doing it. And, like, even when I feel like I put out a track and shit, I'm like, oh, I did something. But I'm like, I could be doing more. And we know we could be doing more. Because it's like, fuck, dude. We have all the shit to do it. And the only thing that's holding us back is us.
Right. It's true. It's very true. And us. We're our own worst enemies.
Facts. So, when now this is the other question I have for you, because like my track that I cooked up, like I put out. Are you planning on putting out your tracks or what?
Yeah, I would like to. I am working on like an album, an instrumental album. I hit the homie up, Chris GOK, Glamorous Living Kids.
Shout out to Chris.
Shout out to Chris. I hit him up, and I want to do some music for his clothing line, and just little snippets of him, like stuff that he could put out, just content he could put up of him creating, doing what he loves, and just having like music behind it. And I told him, I was like, I'm working on a lo-fi album. I want to do like a lo-fi album because me and Tim was talking, me and Boris was talking about it, and and he was like, yeah, he's like, you know what, man? He's like, you honestly had the lo-fi sound before the lo-fi sound even happened. And I was like, I did have that. I was like, I did have some. Yeah.
Thank you. It ain't just me. Come on.
Yeah, I was like, he's like, she's like, you already had it. Like, it was. I was like, he's like, so it'll be dope. And I was like, all right. I was like, yeah. I was like, you know what, you're right. So I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, man. But I'm gonna release it. Like these are gonna help me hold me accountable for all this stuff. Maybe I'll do more than one recording and then release whatever one I want. And, just as long as I'm making beats all the time, like. Yeah. Because I'm not gonna let these sit. Like, especially you're saying, if it makes you feel like, oh, that bounce. Like, I felt it too, man. I was like, oh, I need this. I was like, I need this one real fast. But yeah, but my style for this lo-fi is gonna be like, it's not gonna be super lo-fi like 70 BPMs or anything like that. It's gonna be like 80s. Like a 80s BPM, have that lo-fi quality, but still that boom bap rap kind of thing. And there'll be some little trap, little trap drums on it too. Yeah, trap drums. Oh yeah, trap drums. My version of trap drums. Yeah, I'm excited about it. Like I want to release a bunch of stuff. I want people to hear me. I do.
Yeah, because they need to hear you, man. And that's what they say. What 2 or 3 other motherfuckers said, and it must be true, nigga. Because that's what I said to you in that damn the damn Instagram message. I was like, nigga, you already when I think back to Canvas Print and motherfucking Beats Bacon and motherfucking 40 Days of Beats and 45, you was doing lo-fi before even the term lo-fi was out. And I'm like, nigga, your shit already had that boom bag knock backpacker feel to it already. So now you could do it on purpose. And then at the end of the day, watch what's gonna happen, man. Your motherfucking shit gonna get put, like, you still gotta shop them, but eventually your shit's gonna be on lo-fi playlists. And that's where all the cake gonna come back to your distro kid. Cause it's like, okay. And this is what I tripped off of. Cause I was gonna buy SoundCloud again, right? And I was like, man, but what do I need SoundCloud for? Like,
just another platform, right?
Just another platform, right? To get discovered and have other people bump your shit. but I was looking for somebody professional to tell me what they feel about SoundCloud. Should I still get SoundCloud and all this? I looked at a video on Curtis King, and he was like, "Man, real shit. If your track is good enough to put on SoundCloud, it's good enough to put on all the DSPs. It's good enough to put on Spotify. It's good enough to put it on Tidal. So why just put it on?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I'm paying these niggas. I've already paid my distro kids. It's already paid. So,
Yeah.
and I got unlimited shit I could put up. Why I spend 120 over here? What is it, 144 now? Why spend that
Damn.
when I could just buy some equipment or buy some sounds or buy something to just do the shit I already can do?" So when I
And you're on way more platforms too.
way more, man.
And a platform where they can be purchased. So why put it on a place that you can't be purchased? That I think that SoundCloud thing is just it came and went. And when it was good, it was better when it was free for because up and coming artists were, you know, they were being heard.
Yeah.
And they, I had a SoundCloud back in the day. I used to do what's it called? I used to do those beat mixtapes, the beat competitions
Okay. You did it
on
too.
yeah, I did it for I think I did it like 4 or 5 times. I did it was the Stones Throw one.
Mm.
So Stones Throw records had one up there, and there were little beat battles. But yeah, I think like wow, yeah, exactly. Why would you do that if you could get it on all major DSPs? Exactly. You get streaming money, you get paid from iTunes if they want to buy it. Easy. On TikTok, like come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have them kids dancing, let them do it.
Like, and that's the part that made it all come full circle for me was I'm like, damn, okay, so we got straight out, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the full press run for a track? Song comes out, people love it. You know this is gonna be the single off the album, and then they have a video for it. But now, in the new age of shit, I was always watching my dubstep videos on YouTube, and then you had the UKF, and then then you start seeing how people used to take that logo and then put visualizers around it and shit. And I'm like, all right. So I was like, okay, for a video, since I like watching what Taylor and Blueprint, and motherfucking Iman, I think his name is, these fools be busting and doing little shapes, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, nigga, that'd be
ISO.
dope to our fucking shit, you know? And I'm like, and then I fucking paid the fucking, how much was it? It was 200, 200, 300. The damn buy Final Cut Pro all the way.
Final Cut.
And I was like, nigga, because I couldn't do everything in iMovie. That was the whack part. Like, you only could have a certain amount of tracks. But in order to do shit like that, you gotta, like, especially when I started doing the shuffle shit, like, you gotta, like, get in there, you know? So I'm like,
Yeah.
man. And then the crazy part about it, like, before I even bought Final Cut Pro, my brother's homie, his nephew was trying to be like a streamer and go around that route and shit. He was like, yeah. He was like, Zoe told me that you know how to do that shit. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing it. Like, see,
all the tools. You still downplaying it. Yeah.
doing it. He's like, man, but he don't know what to do. He's about to get a Mac, and he said he bought a camera, but he don't know what to do. And I'm like, all right. He's like, man, can I call him right now? I'm like, yeah, fuck it. So he called him, and I was on the phone for like 2 hours, Ed.
Yeah.
And we was on a three-way, and I'm telling him everything he need to do. And like, I'm like, dude, real shit. If you do everything I'm telling you, I'm giving you $1 million worth of game. It's gonna take you a while to build it up, but when you look at it in hindsight, you got the whole blueprint. Because I gave you all the shit you need to do without all the mistakes that I got to get me where I am now. You know what I mean? You just gonna go, oh, you can go straight here versus all the same pitfalls that I took. And I was like, man. And I told him like, hey, you got all this money coming through. Like, buy all the shit straight up. I'm telling him, don't get cracked like
Yeah, don't do that.
Because that conscience it get to you, man. Because it's like, damn, dude, like you made this shit. You try to make money off something that you didn't even spend money to make on it. And I'm like, all right. So I sat there and I couldn't do all this shit with Final Cut. And I'm like, man, if we really gonna do this shit, once I get it, I got it, you know? And
Right.
so, boom. I learned how to do the shit, bought the shit, and put the shit, and I was like learning how to do the shit to the beat. And I like beat kill. Nigga, like, really beat kill. And I'm like, nigga, we out here. Then I'm like,
Yeah, man.
have motion. Go ahead.
Oh no, I said yeah. No, I mean, I use iMovie. I use iMovie to cut that. to cut the what's it called?
To cut
To cut
the chop section.
the chop section. Yeah, I use that. I mean, it was a little weird. Yeah, because I bet I would have been a little easier with the Final Cut, but you know how you have like I have a logo and the audio still playing underneath it. It was weird because I had to cut it a certain way to keep the audio. And I mean, it'd be a lot easier if I on Final Cut where you could just separate the tracks and then cut willingly, you know,
Yeah.
without any yeah, without anything like, no hindrance, basically.
And that's what makes. Because I was watching Young Guru, and he was doing like a conference or something, and he talked about this book called The Idea Factory. I got it chilling over there. And he was saying how it's like Pacific Bell, back when Pacific Bell was starting up, and they had all these like great ass motherfucking inventors and people across many different disciplines, like creating all this shit. He said, but at the end of the day, he was explaining like how even producers, we're engineers. He's like, but think about what an engineer at the core base of what it is. Like, he's like, before we used to have to walk all the way around. Look at the fucking earth. We used to have to walk all the way around shit to get to places. And somebody sat there like, oh, but if I create something, aka a bridge, that we can just go this way, we ain't got to do all this walking all the way around shit because we can't go this way. And these fools did things to create a bridge. And boom, you're creating a solution. And so even still, this is what I trip off of with the whole music journey, is that we figure out how to do shit when we don't even have shit to do the proper shit. You just figured out another way to use iMovie that wasn't plain as day. Like if you say, hey, Shanae, do it like this, like she won't come to that same conclusion that you
Right.
had to figure out in order to create that workaround, you know? And I'm like, dang, dude, like it just makes you trip off of that. That's why I said it's meant for us to do this by any means, even with the damn problems with the DSLR shit the other day, you know?
Man.
Because it's like, you was going through it, he was like, man, shit still ain't working. Oh, this, I'm like, dang. He was like, it ain't working in photo booth. I'm like, nigga, I didn't even go to photo booth, man. He's like, oh, it's working. I'm like, oh. He's like, but it ain't. It's too small, some shit. I'm like, at least we got it from not working to working, you know?
Right.
So we got
It was
that.
weird. Yeah, it was like the little like square in there. Like I don't know. It looked like one of those gifts that are just like it's just not clear. Like it's too small of a file or something. Like I don't know. But yeah, at least my bridge was to purchase a freaking webcam. Shout out to Amazon for that 2 day wait.
Prime life,
Yeah,
man.
Prime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. No, real shit. Nah, man. Okay. So I speak for me real quick. The things that I feel I need to know, like I want to learn, right? The
Right.
things I went and got this damn 88 key fucking M audio key station. I finally
Right.
got whammy bars back, man. I missed a whammy bar. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, pitch bend.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't got that on the 32 mini. Um, but yeah, what I want to learn is I want to know, like, since I know how to play each chord now, right? I can go up and play a C, I know how to play all this shit, and I know how to add sevenths and ninths to shit, right? Because once I learned that Pharrell used a lot of sevenths in his chord structure and shit, I started using a lot of seventh, kind of fuck with Pharrell. But
Mm-hmm.
now, like yesterday, I made this melody because I was watching piano do one of these things, and like now I know how to move my fingers across the board and shit, and how your finger placement and the thumb tucks and all this shit. Uh, I still like I'm probably like out of Andrew's playlist, it's 40 episodes, and I'm probably like on step 12
Mm.
of that. So I do want to finish that at least what maybe if I can knock out three. I'm gonna commit to 3 a week until I finish it. How about that?
That sounds good.
And then since I got everything, like obviously with this shit, I can do the whole cook up sessions and shit. And it takes me like a week to put out the track though. Like after I cook it up, it takes me like a week to make all the levels right, make it arranged, mix it, master. And this last track, I didn't even master. Normally I master it, like I put it back in Logic, like the 2 track.
Mm-hmm.
I normally put that back in there, and then I use like back when I had Ozone, I was using Ozone 7 to master shit. But now that I got the whole T-Rex bundle shit I bought.
With the 9, right?
Yeah, no. So, nah, T-Rex is
Oh,
arcade
T-Rex.
multimedia. Arcade multimedia. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so it was just a limiter and shit. And I'm like, okay. Then I looked up. There's this one website. Fuck. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but motherfuckers in the comments probably have it. But it's this website where you can put in and it'll show you how each different DSP is gonna limit because they put their own limiter on your shit.
Mm.
And Reed Stefan, that puppet dude, he had made a thing and said like, uh, there's this website you can go to, and instead of limiting his tracks, he just let the DSP limit it. Cause you can put in your upload your track to there, and it'll show you, okay, iTunes is gonna bring it down this dB, Pandora is gonna bring it up this dB, Spotify is gonna bring it this dB, Tidal's gonna do this, and then you get to see each one, and you be like, okay, that, and it'll make your mix better. And then when you master the shit, so like when I put out Chill Hop, I'm like, I'm gonna try this without doing my mastering thing that I normally do, and I'm just gonna let this do the thing. So I did it, and I'm like, listening back, I'm like, damn, this shit actually sound cool, nigga. It sound cool.
And it keeps your mix too, right? Instead of all that compression, kind of keeping it all. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
pretty good.
So,
All right.
but yeah, what I want to learn how to do, man, like, do you follow Dorian Group 82?
I don't.
Okay, so this dude, reason why I fuck with him is because he talk like I talk. Like I cuss a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's just part of me getting my point across. And it's from my football days and shit too. And well, I think he used to coach basketball, but he's very blunt, harsh, and I need that kind of shit, you know? Cause I normally just pussyfoot around shit, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, Tim, you know how to do all this shit? Yeah, no, I do. Like, nah, yeah, nigga, I know how to do that shit. Like, yeah, like,
From the diaphragm.
right,
From the diaphragm.
yeah, feel that shit.
Yeah.
And so he had made one video, uh, and I like Curtis' approach too, because I'm mental and I'm very cerebral, you know what I mean? And Curtis is more, he's not as harsh. Curtis is more introspective and always talking about mind state. You know what I'm saying? And he gives you. He's way more vulnerable than most of us because he'll give you what the fuck he was going through. Even when he made it all big and shit, and like, damn, this ain't what it is. My mental health went away because I'm making money selling these beats. But now music is a job to me, and that's why his videos is always, all right, be careful what you want to make money off of because
Yeah.
that shit nigga ain't gonna be what you thought it was gonna be, and now this shit is a job, and you don't do it for fun no more, and now it's like And so, but when I was watching Dorian, he had made this video, and he was talking about artists, and he said, uh, some people ain't serious about it, and even Curtis had something that same week about it, and that's what made me like, damn, nigga. He was like,
So you talking to me?
that's what I said. He was like, man, you're not a producer, you're a gamer, and I'm like, damn, nigga, I'm both, nigga. Like,
I know.
shit.
I know. Why can't I be both? Shut up. Like,
We be both. But that was another thing when we was talking about people's perception of us and letting other people dictate how we were gonna do shit. I'm like, nigga, I could be the first both. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got to be the first at some point.
yeah, we're not. No, it's all good. We're not built like that. Remember, like Gemini shit. We're built to do. Yeah, we're built to do like multiple things at a time, and it's just the way our mind works. Like audiobooks work well for me because I like doing something else while I can concentrate on the book too. Like driving and listening to audiobooks, that's perfect for me.
It's choice.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's easy.
This food Dorian, and he said, y'all ain't serious artists. He said, I'm giving y'all the blueprint. And it was funny because he had got knowledge. He had Curtis King on his podcast. But he's like, post every day. You respond to every comment that you get. You respond to every DM that you get. And then the people that liked your shit, you go over to their page and like they shit and say something meaningful. Don't give them no bullshit. Give them something meaningful about their shit. So that way, that whole thing, that whole experience is showing them that you appreciate them coming to your shit and fucking with you, and you appreciate them so much that you going to their shit and fucking with them. And then if you just keep doing it, then you're gonna be there. And he said, so I only want the serious artists to respond to me in the comments. Only the serious, because I want to work with you if you're serious. Because if I go to your IG, I'll see that you're consistent with posting. I'll see that you respond. You can see the proof in the pudding. And I'm like, damn. And so and then I follow this girl on my regular Insta, her name Trishana, and she's like 26-year-old fucking girl that has this ice cream shop that's making so much fucking money. Like I think when they first opened, it was like 50 G, some kind of shit. But the only thing that popped out to me,
Damn.
the headline when I went through Instagram, it said 26-year-old girl makes six figures from her own business, and I'm like, nigga, what the fuck? And then yeah, so she be on there, and she's a Leo. She's always like, don't be on Instagram just posting your family and all this shit. You could be making money. Like she's another harsh. She's a female version of that same harshness about getting on your shit. So I look at both of them about being on my shit, and I'm like, all right, it's a reminder that I need to be on my shit. And then I can
Yeah.
today. If you go look at Dorian today, it's gonna be a video, and he's doing what I feel niggas should do because, and this is what dawned on me last night was what Dorian does. He'll go through older interviews. He'll find interviews that already had good reach, shall you say, like it already got 100,000 likes and all this kind of shit. Because he even gave the blueprint on how he got his track. He got a track with 1 million streams, 1 million plus streams on it. The track is called "Don't Sleep." It's 1 million
All right.
plus Spotify. He got a little plaque that chills in the back of him, and he tells you how he got it. But the reason why he got the 1 million streams was he just reverse engineered the whole shit. He went on YouTube to find beats, and he found a beat that everybody already liked. Bought that beat, bought that beat, and then he made a track. He made the words to that beat. But then when he had the audio engineer mix it, he said, "Hey, the beat is the star. I'm just the backup singer. So even mix it that way. Mix it because he already knows people like the beat. Now all he got to do is just fill in the words in there to make it be something that people can fuck with the beat. And that's how. And then he did a whole little campaign that got the 1 million plus streams. And but when I sit here, he's like, he'll look at videos now that
Mm.
already got those same kind of reach. That Waka Flocka video or all these videos from different like Drink Champs and Power, all these different interviews, Breakfast Club, all that shit we normally watch anyway, and take a snippet and show you that, and then give his synopsis on it, give his breakdown in his words, you know. And so I'm like, damn, I used to do this back when I had my website sillymean.com. I was a TED Talk curator because I love TED Talks because it was always talking about ideas worth spreading. And I'm like, okay. In TED Talks, the reason why I fuck with TED Talks was they always talking about some shit that normal people don't know about, but it's something insightful. And then let me talk about how it impacted me. So when I was doing the depression shit, that's what I was doing. I'm like, all right, I'm getting my shit out some kind of way. And I'm watching all these things on TED Talks, and I make a blog post where I post that same TED Talk, and I make a whole ass essay telling about what I took from it, and then bow bow. And so I did that for months, probably like a cool 6 months straight, where I just got like boom, blog post, to where I even
Mm.
got Hootsuite and I'm making blog posts, and I got WordPress on my iPad and I'm making blog posts, and I'm like, damn. And so I'm sitting there like, nigga, I could do that today, but just in voice form, because that's all he's doing. If we take all
Right.
the shit, and I'm like, so instead of just only, remember that's why I said we could draw from multiple inspirations. Instead of just taking music artists, like we can take a b-boy person, just like how you gave me the sentence shit. This shit relates to every producer, but not just producer, every artist in general. Because you said people draw dope shit and don't put it out. People paint dope shit and don't put it out. My ex girl, the reason why I was into her so much is because she was an artist. She painted. We connected on music and art. She was a
Right.
painter, and she was one of the people I showed my track, man. First day I took her out, and then like I'm like looking out the corner of my eye, like what you think? She's like, you did that? I love when people say that like that. You
Yeah.
know, like yeah, I did that. You know what I'm saying? So, man,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, man, we'll collaborate and see what you want to. I'm gonna have to re-watch this whole back and see what's the biggest gems out of here. You know what I mean? And I feel there's been a lot, man. This shit was only planned to be an hour, but the damn maintenance.
And I'm looking. Yeah.
The maintenance was an hour. We had 2 hours and 42 minutes, and it's like, man, but it's too natural. This shit is too organic. Like it
It's
ain't
too
like
organic.
we don't gotta
It's
plan the shit. It's just shit that we already doing. And if we can make a accountability group amongst ourselves that will eventually grow to where everybody else is being accountable as well, to make sure we just keep putting shit out, what we gonna lose?
Yeah, we can't because we can only gain from everything. It's true. But I mean, it seems like a good time. Two and a half. Get something to eat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know,
What time is it over there?
11:26.
It's 1:26 over here. So yeah, this is dope for sure. This is good.
Yeah, we got.
Seems like a good. Yeah, seems like a good spot to end it.
Yeah. Nah, man, I appreciate your time, brother.
Likewise, bro.
This shit, for real, man, is like I
We
said,
gonna
it's therapeutic. What's up?
now we're gonna end on straight out. You about to play that straight out
You
for
already
him?
know it, man. Come on. You already
Sounds
know.
good. Well, we'll cook up some more soon. So
Yes,
for
sir.
sure,
Yes, sir.
everybody look out for that.
Please, man. Go listen to our shit. Give us some pennies in our account. You know what I'm talking about? Go bump our shit back to back. Leave it playing all night on repeat. Here we
Right?
go. Straight motherfucking out.
Does it matter if I don't hear it in my headphones, or is
You
it?
don't hear it?
Nah. Even when you played Sneaks in the beginning, I was like,
I thought you heard it. I thought I shared the audio.
I mean, you did at first, but then
It went away?
yeah. When we started recording, it was different. Yeah, it's all good. Man. I know what it sounds like. No, I'm just kidding.
It's funny. The woo just happened.
Oh, did? Oh, yeah. There we go. So, I'm glad it. Oh, what's up?
Nah, I don't even know. Damn.
That's like,
Okay, when you start recording, it went away. I wonder if the stream part is
taking
I
it.
don't know. Good shit, man. Hold up. Did my shit say it's on mute?
No, I can hear you. You mean the other one?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I did something that said like share computer audio. Hey, man, this is a part of it.
Yeah, I know, for real. I was like, are we still recording? Like, it's all good though. Yeah, no, I mean, this is cool. How many times do you want to do this? I mean, what day do you want to do this? Oh, damn, you're vibing.
This the end, man. It's that part you put it in, man. Even when I beat killers, they do this at the same time. Yeah, man. Motherfucker, straight out. Um, yeah, man. Once a week as well, man. Like it's Friday or normal. You said you don't normally get the same days off each time.
Yeah, it depends. Um, I guess I could just. I want it to be a constant thing where we're releasing and everything. Yeah.
I get like, so we get a rhythm on it.
We could have a release date like on every Friday or Saturday, but we can record it anytime during the week, whatever days I have available. I mean, if you're down to do that.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. So what's the release date? Friday or Sunday?
Sunday's cool, I think.
All right.
Fresh.
Sunday. Boom. Strategy Sundays. They get released. It'll help give people their accountability for the week. You know what I mean? And then the next Sunday, we see if motherfuckers put in that work.
Right.
What you can expect from me by next week for sure is that the Chill Hop episode is going to get posted up to the YouTubes, all 5 hours and 58 minutes. Um, the next one I'm gonna work on is that one. Remember I told you how I had a bad day in the studio and shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that one out just because I feel it's gonna help motherfuckers when you're feeling that you have a bad day in the studio because it still kind of came out cool in my opinion. Fought through the bullshit, and I'm gonna edit that track down so I can put it out. Hopefully by next Friday. Not hopefully by next Friday.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, hopefully is I got yeah.
Because that's already admitting defeat. That something's gonna take you away from doing it. You know.
Right.
So yeah, by next Friday we're gonna have the next track out, and the next I'm gonna put out this one probably today or tomorrow, and next week's episode 2 and the track is gonna be out by next Friday for sure.
Okay. Sorry. So for me then, it'll be another chop section. To get the idea out again a beat. I'm gonna try to Now I'm gonna try. I'm gonna get that track from the first cook for the first chop section. I'm gonna try to get it on DSPs so everybody can hear
You're
it.
going to get it on DSPs?
I would want to. I mean, I don't know how long. Well, DistroKid, it takes like a week or something, right, for it to go on there. Yeah. Um, Either that or maybe I should make a compilation of them and then release it at the end of the month or something like that, or at the end of 2 or 3 months, like a quarter, and then put it as a full album of like Chop Section Volume One or something like that.
Now, trip off this because when I was trying to figure out how I can release the Dark Days album, like, and everybody say, "Oh, release a single per week," and then this is what I noticed because I didn't know how to do it in DistroKid. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Mm.
how can I release a track per week from my album? But basically, when you're uploading each track, you know, when you go to do the album part, it's gonna say, has this track already been released? It's gonna say yes. Then you go through and add all the tracks in one album, and then Spotify and everybody else is gonna take it and make that all one album. So you can
Yeah.
still release each chop section, chop section, chop section, chop section, and then say, hey, this is chop section volume one, and then make that all one album, and it's gonna link all them bitches, and it's gonna have one cover art and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I seen that option for it. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. I'll probably do that. And it's probably smarter to do one time at a week too, because like you get more money though.
But then
I mean,
that content
if they play, yeah,
they gonna
exactly.
play, man, because just like how when I was watching the producer grind thing, man, he was like, man, my lo-fi beats are trash. And like the dude who was playing the shit was dope, and it reminded me of you. And I'm like, nigga, if he telling this dude this shit, then I'm gonna give that same game to Ed, and that's the game I gave you. It was the same
Yeah.
game because it's like that nigga shit was dope, but nigga, I know what you. I've listened to. Now that I think about it, I've listened to. I could say I've listened to hundreds of your songs, like some real shit, because you've
Yeah.
actually put out that much, and I can't say I put out that much, you know. So
I did, huh? Man,
think about that, man.
that is true. Dang. Yeah, more thing to get inspired by. Thank you.
Hey, man, you did
Hey,
it.
producer thoughts.
We out here.
Yeah, NappooBeats and freaking
Boris the Beast.
Boris the Beast.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, man. Peace, much love, brother. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, of course.
Sundays, these getting posted. Let me know when the next day you could do for this coming week.
I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted, brother.
All right, much love.
All right, peace. Cool. It freaked me out a little bit. I was like, wait a minute. All right, background filters. I was gonna show you this Studio 3. Is this one? Yeah.
Hey.
I was gonna this studio right here is the one I interned at. And I was like, man, but they closed it down. This one is the one in Pasadena.
What you mean they closed it down?
It's not there no more. They when I was what's it called when I left, they were in process of selling everything, so they were gutting out the studio when I was there to visit one time, and I was like, ah, it was dope. It was super dope, man. It looked exactly like that. Oh, could get out the way, but
You know that's just in your background. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, it's cool because I was like, oh, this would be dope because a little backstory to that. But
Yeah, man, it is because what that was after San Bernardino.
yeah, they placed me in like an intern spot and Firehouse Records, Firehouse Studios. Actually, it was under Five Alarm Records, I believe it was. And I was interning over there, and it was dope. They were they had like all these outboard gear. Like they were just telling me about a bunch of different stuff about it. But then when I went to go visit, they because I had like a little side gig doing some audio editing with the it was like a distribution or not distribution. I think it was a distribution company, audio company. But they what's it called? Yeah, they were taking it out. I was like, oh, I was like, no. I was all sad.